live tonight. So Tom and I'm very excited to have Mr. Tom Luongo here with me. We This was just one of those things that just happened where Tom and I kind of went back and forth a little on X in a friendly way. But I know a lot of you guys are here. These are the politics guys, the City of London guys. But you know what? Tonight we are doing something that's passionate to both of us, and that is movies, Hollywood, pop culture, why it matters. And then also we're going to get into the whole Odyssey debacle, what's going on here, controversy, and from there we're going to see where the conversation takes us. But I know I'm a former film critic, as I've talked about before. Did a couple years doing that. Just love film in general, and knowing Tom's background as well. But Tom, you just want to say your little intro real quick on that for those who might not know your passion?
My gig is I've been an amateur film critic since I'm about 13. And I've been, told multiple times, like, you should have done that. I'm like, no, the last thing I want to do is be a film critic, right? Because I believe in building things, not in tearing them down, and that's the goal that's the goal of criticism. I think I said earlier in the week on Twitter, I said, no one ever built a statue to a critic. Like, and Hollywood's never going to build a statue to that fat bastard Roger Ebert. So, um, I never want to be lumped in with those guys. I want to take this tonight in a couple of different directions. I've been noting this kind of right wing cancel culture thing for a long time. And it goes back to when I watched them do it over Star Wars. I
Mhm.
watched the vandalism over the
Yep.
Snyderverse. I saw what was happening then 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and I said, "Oh, I know where this is going." So,
Mm.
and I want everybody to what I want to go through tonight on if we can get at it is that, what they did to us, what they took from us is real and it's
Mhm.
abiding, but at the same time, that doesn't mean we have to turn into them
That's
in the
right.
process.
I
Okay. So
completely
wherever we go with this, that's going to
Yeah, well,
be
let's just set
that's
it up for if you've been in a cave the last month and or maybe just too into the weeds on other stuff. There is a huge so the biggest movie of the year is supposed to be The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan, who is the modern he's not I don't mean in style, but as far as success, he's the modern Spielberg. Every movie he puts out is a hit. It's got a following, and so this was supposed to be kind of like a new epic from him, a new an opus. And so he's doing the Odyssey, and then we find out he casts Elliot, former what was
Ellen
her name,
Ellen
Ellen.
Page.
Ellen Page is in it. We find out that Lupita Nyong'o, who's a great actress, is cast as
Hmm.
Helen of Troy, but which
Yep.
doesn't quite fit. And so the entire barrage became cancel this basically without saying it. But is this going to be a flop? This is terrible. We've wokeified Homer. And it's just been nonstop from videos from people I usually like critical drinker, nerdrotic, but it's been an all-out assault to basically ruin a movie ahead of time.
Hmm.
And so I personally am a Nolan fan, and this is why I'm excited to talk through this with Tom because he has a little different feelings on Nolan. But
Hmm.
and I'm coming it from the perspective. Let's give the movie a chance. I've liked his previous stuff. I want to see it through, despite the fact I completely agree with all the criticisms of the casting, and I see the woke Hollywood aspect, but I also know how Hollywood works, and so I'm giving a longer leash than others. But then Tom has his own perspective on that too.
So, well, let's start with the basics, which is that clearly Nolan is cribbing off of this latest modern what's the word I'm looking for, translation of the Odyssey that was
Mhm.
done by some, I don't know, NYU chick, right? And like, that was not necessary. Okay, and that was done again as one of these things to destroy an important piece of history, of literary history, of our shared history as people. These people are freaking Marxists. I'm like, you can't get around that. So now I know Nolan. Now Nolan. I talked about this in the past. I have actually an old podcast I did about Dark Knight Return, about the Dark Knight Rises, when I finally realized that Nolan wasn't advocating for Marxism. When I finally understood, it took me a while to really get The Dark Knight Rises because I couldn't quite
Mm.
figure out where he landed. And my biggest problem with Nolan, and again, I have a very complicated relationship with him, which I've talked about in other podcasts. I did one with Sean Newman a couple of years ago on the same thing, um, which is that I hated Memento when I saw it.
Hmm.
Okay, I
Wow.
fucking hated Memento because Memento was to me, without knowing this guy at all, right? I watched this and I went, "This is the most emotionally manipulative movie of all time." It
Mm.
is nothing more than intellectual jerking off to to a movie to prove my editing chops as opposed to my storytelling chops. And when I got to the end, I was like, "Well, why the fuck didn't you just tell us this story straight through?" Because it didn't make any sense. And so my hackles went up, and I immediately labeled him. Okay, this guy's a closet postmodernist. He may be a Derrida, like, Foucault style freaking French, Marxist. I don't know. And so then I watched him insert all of this woke Hollywood, you know, um, bullshit about, free energy, like in like in Batman Begins, and then Interstellar. I read the synopsis of Interstellar, and I went, oh, fuck you, right? Because in no way, manner, shape, or form, after he butchers Philip K. Dick's Ubik with Inception, he then turns around and says, "Now it's my time. Now after I've ruined Philip K. Dick, now I'm going to like show everybody that I'm the next Stanley Kubrick." And I'm like, "No, you're just not Stanley Kubrick."
Mhm.
As much as I love The Dark Knight, as much as I love The Prestige,
Mhm.
which I think are great movies, right? There's a reason why The Prestige is told the way it is because
Mhm.
it's a magic trick,
Yeah, it's
and
a
the
magic
theme
trick.
of the movie is a magic trick, so it
Yeah.
makes sense. The
Yeah.
Dark
100%.
Knight is told the way it is because it's a movie about, what happens when a man of principle meets the devil,
Mm.
Batman versus the Joker,
Yeah, yeah, it very
and
much
what
is, yeah.
and that's up and there's I have zero problems with everything about the Dark Knight, right? And
Mhm.
and Batman Begins, I think, is, a really great story on rewatch. I think it gets better with each watching,
I agree.
except for the third act,
Yeah.
right? Which is that whole dumb, but that's Warner Brothers telling you we
Mhm.
have to have this big action set
Yeah, that's
piece with the
before he
dumb.
was Nolan and could do it his way.
Right, right, and I get that, and so I always gave him the third act as clearly a studio intervention into the screenplay, but, I always thought that, Batman Begins is a great story about Batman and false fathers and father figures and all of that stuff, so perfectly reasonable. So the older I got, the more I learned to, stop worrying and trust Chris Nolan, to crib Doctor Strangelove. And then I watched Tenet, and I guess I was on a I hate Nolan, and then I was on a, "Oh, okay, I kinda get Nolan," right? And I went on a binge. My wife and I literally went on a binge. We watched, like, 5 of his movies in a row. We rewatched all the Batman films, then I finally sat down and watched Interstellar, which I had pirated off the Pirate Bay and sat on a hard drive for 5 years before I finally watched it. I'm dead serious, right? Because 'Cause I'm such a Kubrick fan.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
there's
Yeah,
Kubrick,
Kubrick, I mean,
and then there's everybody
unbelievable.
else making movies. I'm sorry, like, at the end
Mhm.
of the day, right? Um, and I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm like, Chris Nolan is warmed over. No, I get it. I always look at it this way, and then after a while, I became of my opinion of Nolan was that his ambition is greater than his talent,
Mhm.
and so I applaud his ambition in lieu of his talent. I applaud that in any artist because sometimes they do great things.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have aspiration, if you're not aspirational to reach for the stars, well, you're never going to get there, right? So, and in the end, I really liked Tenet, but I can't understand it, except for what it's saying, right? Which I love what it says.
Mhm.
So I don't really have a problem. Like at the end of the day, like the question now is the Odyssey nothing more than a Hollywood struggle session
Yeah,
for Chris Nolan? Because it's
yeah,
clear that Nolan is the last, like Snyder, and Zack Snyder, and a couple of others, the last quote unquote based motherfuckers making movies.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and so that's the thing, and so that's where I think everybody's really is on edge about this. Did Nolan finally? Did
Is
Hollywood
he the one
finally
they
finish?
finally killed? Did they finally take him down? Yeah, I get
Right,
it.
right, right, right.
Mhm.
So I get it, and I get the worry about that, and
Mhm.
And there's an interesting theory that's been going around for the last couple of days, which is that Nolan made the Odyssey as the ultimate troll to Hollywood in order to kill off woke. I, uh,
Yeah,
eh,
see, that would be
he-
one of his
eh,
movies.
Yeah, no, I can see that, right?
That would be a movie plot.
But that's what, but he doesn't have the same cachet that Kubrick did, which is that
No,
Kubrick had a contract after Doctor Strangelove
mhm,
where he basically had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted, and he just sent the movie in.
mhm.
And then the last time that Kubrick sent in a movie that the studio wasn't sure what to do with, Eyes Wide Shut, I'm sorry, they killed him, and
Yeah,
then they
Kubrick
recut his movie.
disappears.
And then they recut his movie, and then he died, and they're like,
I
"Ooh,
know.
ooh," you know?
Yeah, you guys want an
So
interesting rabbit hole, go look at the, Google, or well, not Google, Brave search the uncut version of, what the perceptions are, what that was of Eyes
mhm.
Wide Shut, the belief that Kubrick may have been trying to expose everything we're dealing with now.
Well, what's really funny is that actually Kubrick kept doing it over and over again.
Mhm.
What do you think Lolita was about? What do you think
Oh,
Barry Lyndon was about? What do you think 2001 was about? What do you think The Shining was about?
yeah,
The
yeah.
Shining is a movie. Is literally a precursor to Eyes Wide Shut.
Mhm.
It's literally the same movie as Eyes Wide Shut. Um,
Interesting. I haven't heard this perspective. I've heard the other, kind of. I mean, I just rewatched The Shining, a month ago, and I tell you what, on a rewatch after what we've gone through, it could have been a few years since I watched it.
mhm,
The time travel stuff, in his mind, seeing
right.
what he sees in the glimpses in the going on in the
Right.
hotel. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
yeah, means a
Okay.
lot of different
So
stuff.
the most important scene in The Shining is that expositionary scene where he's walking through the hotel with the dude, and the guy's explaining, "Oh, all the best people stayed here, and here's where the larder
Mm,
is, and he's set, and it looks like he's just setting the scene, but what he's really doing is he's telling you the plot, which is that
mhm.
the ghosts of the very best people in the world, the ones who are the people that we meet in Eyes Wide Shut, all stayed at the Overlook Hotel, and they're all
Oh,
evil,
interesting.
and they thematically, what do they do to Jack Torrance? They take this guy who's clearly a child abuser.
Yeah.
He abused Danny.
Yes, yeah.
He's
He's got the marks.
an alcoholic.
Mhm,
He's trapped in he's a classic kind of mid, he's this dude, he's a failed dude,
mhm.
right? With an ugly wife. And I'm not look, don't kid yourself. He
No,
cast Shelley
I'm
Duvall
laughing
for a
because it's
reason.
Shelley Duvall.
It's true, right? He's got a wife that he doesn't like. He's got a kid he doesn't like. He's got a life he's led he doesn't like.
Mhm,
And he's tempted. He walks into the bar, and there's, Joe Turkel, the
mhm.
Lloyd, I always remember Joe Turkel because he was in Blade Runner. He walks in and he says, well, it'll be Mr. Torrance. And then what is it, what does the hotel um tempt him with? First alcohol, then sex,
Yes.
then this, then that, over, and then power, and
Mhm.
then all of that, and then all of that boils over, and he
Mm.
wants to kill his family because his family is, to him now, the thing that has wasted his life.
Yeah.
And so, they want to take. So the theme of The Shining is they take the average dude living an unsatisfactory life with
Mhm.
all of these demons in his closet. Like, nope, you're just one of us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Come join the
Well, then you
party.
see his picture with them at the
Right.
end. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
come join the party.
It's
Uh,
fascinating too, you saying that because and we will get back to the Odyssey, guys, I promise, but this is going to
mm,
be a freewheeling conversation because we just love movies
mm,
and but, Stephen King famously hated Kubrick's version of The
mhm,
Shining because
mhm.
King made it his book, which is very different.
Yes,
It's about basically his struggle with the demon of alcoholism, whereas that is
right.
definitely not what the movie's about, even though
No,
there's
the movie's about
thread.
something much deeper than
Mhm.
alcoholism, and that's fine. And so, like, the TV movie they made, The Shining later with Stephen, whatever his name was
Mhm.
fine for
Yeah,
an adaptation of Stephen of King's
yeah,
book.
for
But
a TV movie.
Kubrick, yeah, but Kubrick took it to a different level. So okay, so let's talk about the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
go there.
so back to Nolan, just, where and I totally agree with you. I mean, so Kubrick's a whole different animal though too, and I don't fault anybody for wanting to, like, maybe try to be Kubrick, but can't in this system and this like, Kubrick just had stones that most guys don't have these days either. He's gonna make what he wants to make,
And a
drive
235 IQ, by the way.
yeah, Kubrick was on a whole other level, and that's, and That's why we only got what, 7 movies from him, 8 movies,
No, no, it was
something
like
like that.
well, of that we remember, it's like 11 it's like 13 or so
Oh,
because
is it that many? Okay.
there's like 4 or 5 of them in the '50s that he made, right? So he's
Okay,
doing
okay. I always
mhm,
forget about the really early stuff.
mhm,
But Nolan, the one thing I've always liked about Nolan, and the reason I'm giving him a rope is because, I look at Nolan's movies and, it's funny you brought up the Marxist thing, and I always looked at Nolan seeing those solutions like free energy and stuff as a result of tech, not
mm,
as like
mm,
government control.
mm.
And because I feel like Nolan always kind of pushes that envelope, but the Batman movies in particular, Dark Knight Rises is very underrated. That movie gets a lot of hate, but man, the whole redemption story in that and like overcoming like the worst, uh, uh, Nolan really celebrates masculinity,
He
and
actually
that's
does.
something that does not happen in Hollywood much anymore. So that's
He
why I've been
also
giving him a leash.
yeah, well, he also taught I mean, The Dark Knight Rises, in the end, he was telling us what these people were going to do.
Hmm. Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
go look
Oh,
at Bane's arc and Bane's whole
he's
I
a
mean, he's
commie.
like yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. He's a
Yeah.
full-blown commie, and I
Mhm.
think the most compelling character um, in Dark Knight Rises is Catwoman, to be honest
Oh
with you.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and I give Anne Hathaway props
She's
for the
great
way
in
she
that.
handled that. She's really good in that movie. She really
Mhm.
is. So,
Yeah, and, you see the results, and it's not any coincidence that the whole Wall Street thing happened right before Occupy Wall Street, and they did the
right.
whole thing. It's like, yeah, you there was definitely some shades, and I think the same in the, Dark Knight because the whole chaos
Mhm.
burned the world down.
Mm,
But it's funny you said the devil thing. I actually when I did when I was a film critic for 2 years it was a small paper, but,
sure.
uh, I got to write, the review for The Dark Knight, and I said the
Oh, wow.
same thing. It was humanity, like the good human versus the devil, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I made that
Yeah, yeah.
exact same
Yeah.
connection there, and that's the kind of stuff I like about Nolan. So with the Odyssey coming up, first of all, before all this woke stuff came out, casting and all, I was very excited to just see what he would do with it, even if it was
Mm,
just a technical standpoint. Because like when Nolan, you talked about shooting for the stars. That's how we get like the flipped, truck in Dark Knight, which all of us
right.
just said, "What just happened?" That was
Mhm.
unbelievable.
Right.
So I was hoping to see that from the Odyssey, and so what's shocking to me is that of all these directors, Villeneuve, the same with Dune, which we're going to talk soon
Oh, yeah.
as
We're gonna talk
well.
about that as well.
That
Sure.
was another guy I gave a huge leash to Dune, and because of their past, and so the conservative movement, MAGA movement, whatever, with Dune, we gave the leash, right? And I
Yeah,
wonder
we
if we
did.
felt burnt by Chani or whatever, which
I
I
did.
do want to talk more about, yeah. Uh,
Very much so.
but Nolan is the first, he hasn't done this yet. And so it
Yeah.
was shocking to me we chose him to be the one. And what I'm shocked at is the attacks on Nolan himself versus trying to figure out like, oh man, did Hollywood get to Nolan? I mean, there's just been no leash for him whatsoever. And that's one of the things that's shocking to me. And that's one of the things that like I don't like this because this is being like them. That's
Yeah,
not
it
what we do.
yeah, well, we do, but
Well, we do. Okay. We're not
we
supposed
we're
to.
not supposed to.
Yeah.
And, like like, this is not Supergirl, dudes,
Hmm.
okay? This
Yeah.
is not James Gunn's Superman. This is not, I if you've like, I'm at the point now, I said this the other I was talking to my wife the other day, who's, by the way, one of the should be the most celebrated film, script doctor in Hollywood. She's that good. I
Mm.
say this all the time just to like, as a by the way, hire her. She'll fix your friggin' scripts. Oh, by the way. Um, but I mean that sincerely. Like, I
Yeah.
can't watch it. I mean, I can't watch a movie with her anymore because she's like, oh God, what about that, and that? I'm like, oh shit. Would you just like want I'm like all right brain and I'm like into it, and she's like
Yeah.
all, you know,
Let's enjoy it.
chapter and verse, like there's all the plot holes and blah 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 blah, right? And and she's I mean, no, seriously, she's really good. And but I said to her the other day, I said, I almost can't forgive Ewan McGregor for being the bad guy in the Harley Quinn movie. You want
Mm.
to talk about a misandrous piece of shit?
Oh
Like
man.
anybody who thought, like for example, that the Last Jedi, and I've heard this is like the movie's misandrous. I'm like,
Mm.
no, you're just a fucking you're just an overgrown boy. Shut the fuck up. Like men have no problem with this movie. Guys who understand script writing can have problems with the Last Jedi, but
Sure.
but let's not talk misandrous here. Like you who's 64 and single and, probably closetedly gay, like, shut the fuck up, okay? Um, that movie was misandrous. There wasn't one redeemable male character in the movie. It was nothing but a female empowerment, second, third wave feminist
Yeah.
pile of horse shit, and it was unwatchable garbage. And I mean, it's one thing for a fag like Pedro Pascal to be in, like Wonder Woman 1984, which is a terrible movie, um, as opposed to Wonder Woman, which is a great movie.
Mm.
Um, the It's one thing, but for Ewan McGregor, like, dude, seriously, like, you've screwed the pooch, dude. Like, you should have never been in that film.
Mhm.
But he'll do anything because he doesn't care. So, but whatever Nolan does with the Odyssey, even a modern interpretation thereof. I mean, you were all bitching about the cast of of Ellen Page. I'm sorry, it's Ellen Page and Lupita. Sorry, one, his dog Argus should not be a golden retriever. That's one, and two, Odysseus shouldn't be Matt fucking Damon.
Yeah.
Matt Damon, like, no, no, but whatever. Like, again, and don't get me wrong, I like Matt Damon. I'm just not sold that he's going to be
Mhm.
okay in the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like Ellen Page is concerned, we all know that no one likes to reuse his actors. He likes to kind of have a little workshop. It's like the Coen brothers. It's like Woody Allen. It's like he wants that kind of feel. Tries to use the same crew every time, and certain actors over and over again. How many times did he use Michael Caine? Yeah, I mean, you can just go through, right?
Mhm.
All of his films. And from that perspective, I get it. So if I'm Chris Nolan, like, I never, like, the whole Elliot Page thing didn't bother me. I figure for the most part, aside from the fact that if I remember correctly, like, it's not like um Lupita or Ellen Page are going to be in like a lot of the movie. They're all going to
That's
They
what
should
I'm
be all act.
hoping. I'm
They're all
hoping
It
it's
should all
like
be like Act One
a
stuff, and then,
minute or
like,
2, yeah, and
right,
then
really
5
early on,
lines.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and we move on because, I mean, are they central to the plot of the Odyssey? Not the
Mhm.
last time I read the damn thing. So, and that would be, the way I think of it. So I'm really not that worried about it.
Yeah.
You should be more worried, obviously, about the rest of it,
Mhm.
and about this kind of validating a modern take
Yeah, yeah, that is the
on
concern.
the
I agree.
dialogue and
Mhm.
the interpretation. If that's the
Yeah.
case, again, this is going to be one of those things. Well, Nolan could have picked any project he wanted, and he chose to pick
Mhm.
this one. And you got to
Yeah.
ask yourself why.
Yeah, and so for me too, like sometimes it is just a passion project. That's what I think, this is
Mm,
where it's a good thing I think to bring in Dune, which it was for Villeneuve, right? It's a passion
yes,
project. He loves
yes,
the
it was.
text.
Yep.
If you want to go further back, Lord of the Rings, but Peter Jackson landed Lord of the Rings,
Oh yeah,
whereas and Dune, but there were changes. The hardcore people in Lord of the Rings know the changes, but they were in the spirit of it, and it's so we accepted it. We said, okay, we get the spirit of it, why you did it, makes sense for a
of
movie
course.
verse. And so there are acceptable changes if it's within the spirit of the context. But that brings us to Dune, and this is where we're hoping doesn't happen with the Odyssey is the whole Chani aspect in part two. Part one I
Right.
thought was perfect,
Yes, it was
you know.
absolutely. I mean, I actually, I mean, there's a couple of pacing issues I have with part
Sure, sure.
one.
Yeah.
I think the final battle, the final betrayal of the Atreides
Mm,
hits a little too quickly. I think he
mm.
trimmed the movie a little too tightly. If you want my opinion, I think it could. I think there's a 3 hour and 10 minute cut of Dune Part One that's better than the 3 hour cut. Let's just
And
put it
those
that
are
way.
and you and I are the kind of people who want to see that cut.
Yeah, I would like to see that cut just because from a pacing perspective, and I'm
Yeah,
dead serious
yeah.
when I say that. Like, I remember watching, like, all the changes made to the Lord of the Rings, for example, um, were well done. Like, moving Arwen into Glorfindel's role and
Yeah,
blah blah
yeah.
blah. That was necessary to condense to
Yeah.
condense the cast down so that we had some context
And
here,
we
and
needed
also it
for
made
for
Arwen a better character. It made Arwen a better character,
exactly. It actually improved Arwen,
and their
for
relationship.
especially for studio going audiences who don't wanna read appendices.
Well, and moreover, because the Aragorn that they have in in the movies is the guy who's not sure he wants to be king. So they
Yeah,
have to have this
the other
massive
difference.
arc of taking Aragorn, who is denying his past, and then
Yeah.
you have to give him a a woman worth fighting for to push him
Mhm.
forward, right?
Yeah.
Arwen. And so you give her Glorfindel's role. And so structurally, that makes a lot of sense. I'm
Yeah.
thinking now Bob McKee, like story, arc
Mhm.
upon arc
Yeah.
upon arc thing,
Mhm.
right? So, um, like that made perfect sense to me, and then that made Boromir a better character because now
Mhm.
Aragorn versus
Yes.
Boromir are better
Yeah.
characters, especially in the extended edition of
Yeah. Oh,
Fellowship of the
yeah.
Ring. And then it all carries all the way through.
And it all works better for
Arag,
film. That's what I
right?
wanna say,
Yeah,
versus
it's
reading. Mhm.
right. Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien was ready. He's coming out of the north to come and become king and take over
Yeah.
for Gondor and do the thing. And so there wasn't an arc really for Aragorn. But
Mhm.
then again, the Lord of the Rings, as written by Tolkien, wasn't Aragorn's story. It was
Yes.
Frodo's story.
Exactly.
So in
Mhm.
a film, you have really two protagonists. You have in this three film arc, you've got Frodo and Aragorn, and they
Mhm.
have to be kind of mirror images or complementary characters to one another. Aragorn coming into his power, and Frodo trying to resist coming into his power
Mhm.
and not be subsumed by the ring. And then, of course, he
Yes.
fails, and Gollum has to save him, and it's all brilliant, and we
It's
all cry
genius,
at
yeah.
the end a lot, and it's all
Every
good, right?
time.
Every fucking time, like my friends, you bow to no one. Every
Oh, I
fucking
lose it.
time,
Yeah.
Waterworks.
Lose it, yeah.
Every freaking time,
There's people
Waterworks,
who
right?
complain about those endings. I'm like, "No, I love all
Nope,
7
nope.
of them."
Yeah, all 7 of them, exactly. Um, so, for Dune, Villeneuve, who loved Dune, but I honestly think he's a guy who may love Dune, but he doesn't understand it.
Yeah, he is
And
French, so
he's French Canadian, it makes it even worse. Um, so, I mean, you got 2 strikes against you already, but, you know and this is coming from a guy whose previous work I absolutely adored.
oh my
The
god,
Arrival is
Sicario
brilliant.
is
Sicario's
on another
great.
level.
Blade Runner 2049,
Oh, it's great.
arguably better than the original, and the
Arguably,
original
I
was
agree.
freaking, oh my
Mhm.
god, dude.
Yeah,
So, I think those are great films, and I thought Dune Part 1 was nigh on to perfect other than pacing.
yeah.
And then Feminist Chani just felt like a studio note that they needed to do that.
I completely agree. It did not feel I can't imagine somebody who loved the source text as much as Villeneuve would do that unless he was really pushed. But again, we
Right.
don't know. Sometimes these people just make their weird decisions. I will say, thank God the rest of the movie still is pretty awesome. I mean,
It's
you know,
phenomenal. It was
the
phenomenal. I sat there my jaw dropping, and I was
yeah,
watching the Chani thing, and I'm like, okay, are they going to redeem this? And they didn't have to
yeah.
do much to redeem it in the end. This
No.
is the interesting part about it.
Mhm.
We got out of the theater, and my wife and I, we both walked out, and we were both pissed off. And she turned to me and she said, all they had to do was one reaction shot
Mhm.
of Paul and Irulan and Chani after he makes his decision
Mhm.
and shows one moment of reconciliation between the two of them.
Yeah.
That I'm doing this because I have to, not because I
Mhm.
don't love you. And
Yes.
had he done that, it would have it would have actually landed that whole thing.
Yeah,
And
I
he
agree.
chose not to
Mm-mm.
do it.
Yeah, he
And then
has
he
her
went
right off, right?
right. And then
Yeah.
the last thing, this is Paul's story. How the fuck does Chani
It
write off on a
drove
sandworm
me
as the last
crazy.
shot in the movie?
I know. And that's why the difference was so stark to me as I'm watching it, because I was so excited for Dune 2. That was the movie I was
Me
most
too.
excited
So was
for
I.
in a while, man, and when I sat and I was watching the Chinese stuff, I was like, "Oh god," because the thrills in that movie, the first time he rides the sandworm is one of the greatest cinematic moments I've ever seen. All the
The
stuff in the
sequences on Gedi Prime, the
oh my
stuff on Gedi
god.
Prime is
Yeah,
insanely
it's
good.
insane, and that's where his direction is so brilliant, and so what I'm
Right.
hoping is, like, for me, Dune 2, I like the first one more and I've rewatched it more. I can still sit through Dune 2. I can be like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. I'm gonna, the Chani stuff. I'm just gonna hold my throw
Hold
up,
my nose. Nope.
and I'm gonna just love the good parts of it. But I notice like I just don't naturally go to it as much. I'm
Ready?
hoping,
Ready?
yeah.
We walked out of the theaters. I haven't seen it again.
Oh wow,
I was so
man,
angry. And then I wrote my
yeah.
editorial that month for the newsletter on what they did. And
Uh-huh.
I haven't given Dune 2 a second thought since then.
Oh
I've
wow.
said I will wait until they see if they redeem it in the third movie. And if they don't,
I'm
I'm done.
scared. I'm scared. Latest preview.
I don't even own the first one
Yeah.
on Blu-ray. I mean, normally I buy movies, the movies I like,
Yeah.
especially genre films. I buy them either on 4K or on Blu-ray in order to
Mhm.
have them because they're burning down the fucking library. So now I need to. own physical copies of everything, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that way about movies, very strongly. And yeah, I'm quite angry about Dune 2 to the point because I went back and reread all 9 books
Mm.
and finally finished Chapter House, so that you don't have to.
I'm actually working
And
through Heretics right now.
Heretics is a good book. It's probably
It's
the
pretty
best
good.
one. It's the best one of the last four by
Mhm.
far. By the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
and then the ones that his son and Kevin Anderson wrote to finish the story, because that's actually
Mhm.
Heretics is part one of a new trilogy, and God
Yeah,
Awful is just supposed to be the
and
interim.
he died, yeah,
And
so they finished it. But
and
yeah,
I
I
got through them, and they're not bad. And the story
yeah.
tells in the end, and I only read it for the thematic things to see where Herbert's head was,
Mm,
because Herbert left a 75-page outline for the final book.
yeah.
And so they knew what to work with and what the material was. I don't really care about their writing style per se.
Mhm.
They chose not to try and ape Herbert, which was the right choice,
Yes.
on their part. And to then just go through the story beats, which was the smart thing to do.
Mhm.
And it's a very interesting story because Herbert in the mid 1980s understood exactly where we were going to be today, with
Mm.
an inversion of gender roles, fighting off AI,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
he was
It's
dead on it.
wild.
It's
It's
dead
wild.
on it. He
Yeah.
dead on it how good he was.
Yeah.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
I
Okay.
agree. And my so I what I was, I wanna talk about Dune 3 in a minute,
Mm,
but I was gonna say that my hope for the Odyssey is that and I think the well, it might not be the best case scenario for it, but it must be the most realistic best case scenario is that we get Dune 2, where those characters may be a little ridiculous, couple of things, but we get some really high highs.
sure.
That's kind of what I'm hoping out of the Odyssey, and I'm giving it a chance. Listen, guys, I'll be there. I'm going to be there day one. I'm going to be there for Dune 3 day one, even though I have a lot of fear
I do.
about.
I will be too. I am going to give him Dune 3 to
Mhm.
repair what he
I
did.
hope
Because
so.
again, as my wife and I both said after the movie, well, he's got a big freaking hole to write himself out of.
Yeah.
Because if anybody's read Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, you understand that the trope of the man with who can see the future but can't see past a particular nexus point in
Mhm.
time is a very powerful trope that was used by Herbert in Dune Messiah that defines Paul's character.
Yes.
And without it, you don't have Paul Atreides, you have somebody else.
Yep.
And that's in complete contrast to, well, we'll leave Star Wars for a later part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But to the person that as we were doing the Kubrick thing earlier, I was reading the chat. The guy who brought up The Killing by
Mm.
Stanley Kubrick, great movie, by the way.
I
Sterling
don't think I've
Hayden.
seen that one.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. It's about a heist at a racetrack. Not a very
Okay.
big movie. It's like his second movie, second or third
Wow.
movie. Killer's
Wow.
Kiss, The Killing. There's maybe one other. And Killer's Kiss is not worth watching. It's
Yeah.
literally Kubrick making a movie for $50 as a. But The Killing is a very good movie.
Mm.
And then he made right after that. Then he made Paths of Glory. Arguably the best anti-war
I've
film
seen
ever
Paz.
made.
Paz is good. Yeah. That's
Paz
a
is
good one.
phenomenal, right?
Mhm.
If you want to understand why Kirk Douglas was great, go watch Paths of Glory.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah, yeah. So just
So
the
yeah,
the
I
guy
thought it
bringing
was
doing the deep cut, the guy in the
it's
chat doing the
okay.
deep cut.
I
Yeah,
love it, and that's what this was supposed to be a freewheeling
sure.
conversation, but for people who love film and what it means and why it's important to culture. And Dune 3, I think is very interesting. He chose to end Dune Messiah because Children of Dune's really the ending. And
Yes,
I don't know
it is.
how he's gonna, Dune. If you've read Dune, anybody who's out there has read Dune Messiah, it's very interesting. It's also very short,
Yes.
and there's not like a whole lot that's cinematic in it. So,
No.
so I'm
Well,
very fascinated to see how he does it.
he's pulling forward. He's going to pull forward some
He's
stuff from
got
see.
to,
He's
right?
going to pull forward some stuff from Children of Dune. He
I would
is.
hope so, because Children of Dune would make a great movie.
Oh,
It's a
if
great
you
story.
want to watch if you want to watch it done reasonably well on a low budget, the
The
sci-fi,
sci-fi?
yeah, those are
Yeah, I
good.
like it.
I just rewatched them
Yeah,
recently, and I was surprised at how good they were.
they
But they're
really
a
get the
little
story.
the first 35 minutes or
Mhm.
the first episode is really rough, kind of like Dune. Like reading the first 50 pages, 75 pages
Yeah,
of Dune
yeah.
is really rough, right? Well, the same thing and I say that when you go back to reread Dune, and
Mhm,
after you're immersed in the world and you see how much he throws at you in terms of
mhm.
jargon and world building and everything else, it's a perfectly valid read once you understand the world of Dune.
Yeah.
But reading it cold, that first all that whole sequence on Caladan is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And most people, if they don't get past that first 75 pages, 50 to 75 pages, then they throw it across the room and they never think twice about it. I
Mhm.
remember Dexter White and I having that conversation when we were back in college. And I tried handing him Dune, and he got the Caladan. He couldn't get the Caladan. He threw it across the room, and that was the end of it. That's the way I feel about Game of Thrones. Every time I sit down and read that, it's like
Yeah,
hor-
yeah.
horse shit. So I am not a Moorcock fan, by the way, and that's not for lack of. It's only because I never read any of Michael Moorcock. I had friends that were a huge fan of his, like all the Elric, Mel Nibbing, and all that stuff. But
What was
my
Moorcock writing? I don't think I've read
he
Moorcock.
wrote Elric and a couple other. He wrote all the
Oh,
Elric
yeah, I've
books
heard
and
of
all
those.
that
I
stuff.
haven't read
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. No, the deep cut for me is Roger Zelazny's Amber. That's the series that should be made into a freaking series. I
Hmm,
mean, and it kind of has been. I think Sci-Fi tried to do one.
okay.
Amber is an amazing freaking story.
Yeah.
That's
See,
where we are.
this is
Hawkwind. There
what
you
we
go.
need, like, and people say there's no ideas out there for Hollywood. No, there's plenty. There's so
Mhm,
much to pull from, and
mhm.
this is one of the reasons why I'm worried about the Odyssey, because we want these historical epics.
Yep.
We want directors to swing for it. We want Dune. I mean, God, I was so excited when they announced Dune and they attached Villeneuve to it. It's
Yeah.
like, oh
No.
my
So was
God,
I. I
could
was
that
like,
be a yeah, exactly. And
we're so
rewarded on the
back.
first movie,
Right. We're
but we
so
want
back.
it.
That's exactly what I
Yeah, and
felt
so for
about it.
people
Yeah.
who say, like, we don't like, and this is another thing I have, and I think one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because
Mm,
I still love film. I still love Hollywood. I want it to succeed. I don't want these
me too.
people to succeed,
Right.
but good film is important. It's art that it inspires, it helps, because nobody's reading like they used to, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
we need film because that
Mhm.
way people will sit down for 2 to 3 hours, get something for their life, get something, I grew up, the Rocky movies made me want to be a better man, and like,
Mhm.
feel like I could overcome anything. Lord of the
Yep.
Rings is text to my growth. I was born in 83, so Star Wars was a lexicon of me growing up. And that there's something in that I think people take for granted when you do love these films, what it actually can do for your psyche growing up,
Mhm.
and what it can stir within you. And so, I don't want to see Hollywood fail. And so that's
No.
another reason why I don't like this whole attack, because I get it. Trust me, I get it. But I'm rooting for it to be wrong at some point, like something to break. And I'm hoping we've reached peak at some point and start coming back.
I agree with you. I really do, Ace. And I wanted to I want us I feel like we could be like Hollywood has gone through moments like this in the past. Never as
Mhm.
bad as this, but
Yeah.
the late 60s were terrible, by the way.
Yes.
Like the studios didn't know what they were doing. The old stuff wasn't working. They were making shit like Hello Dolly and all these musicals, and they weren't working.
Mhm.
And the Doris Day, Rock Hudson movies weren't landing anymore. And the studios were breaking down. And the next generation of people were the next generation was taking over the studios. The studio system broke down, and then we got the 70s where all of this, we had a lot of just, guys just trying all sorts of things. Like Star
Mhm.
Wars doesn't get made in anything other than
Oh, no.
1977,
Yeah.
unless Alan Ladd Jr. is in charge at 20th Century Fox. But then
Mhm.
again, you wouldn't have gotten Scorsese, you wouldn't have gotten Clint Eastwood and Don Siegel and all those great movies. There was that whole period in the mid 70s where the reflection of the weakening culture,
Mhm.
right? It was a time of economic depression and ennui and a morally gray period post Vietnam. And so you
Yeah.
had a lot of that in the films. Well,
Mhm.
filmmaking was like that. And a lot of urban issues. There were a lot of, obviously like that, all the Charlie Bronson movies and all that
Mhm.
stuff. But I
Mhm.
was watching one of the things I watched recently. Got up, was up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I looked up and Prime Video threw me, "Hey, you want to watch the original Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 with Walter
Oh,
Matthau," which is,
nice.
by the way, one of my favorite movies. Great fucking movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Hell, even the Tony Scott remake isn't
Oh, yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
It's not terrible. It's
It's
not the
watchable.
original. It's watchable. But watching like Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 reminds me of that era of filmmaking.
Mm.
Joe Sargent does a great job with the movie. Mathau's great. Bob Shaw, like it's a great freaking cast. It's a
Mhm.
great little game of cat and mouse. but it's this urban jungle kind of thing, and it's very, and especially if you grew up in New York in the 70s. I didn't grow up in New York City. I grew up in upstate New York, but like my dad was NYPD. My whole family's from Brooklyn and Queens. Like I know that. So that whole there's a vibe in that movie. Like I know like half the cast is my uncles. You know what I mean? So except that my uncles were Italian and half the guys in the thing are Jewish, but it doesn't really Italians, Jews, Italians. It's not really that much difference in terms of like you know the 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 ma- the mannerisms. Like
Yeah.
we used to joke about this shit all the time. It's just like Italians eat bagels and pastrami. Like I got news for you. Um, so, um, but that was a great movie. That era, and I kind of feel like we're at that we could be at that moment here.
Yeah.
And if Nolan doesn't land the Odyssey, right, then it's going to be an interesting moment where
It's gonna be
everybody's going to have to
very interesting.
step back and go, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Because don't think for a second that the commies aren't doing this on purpose.
Oh, yeah,
Because look,
100%.
they're trying to destroy the cathedral. They're trying to destroy the things, the cultural events that bring us all together, that we can all talk about.
Mhm.
We
Yes.
don't. The last big one was Game of Thrones, which was this nihilistic, anti-heroic, mess of a story that had no goddamn business ever being
Yeah.
important. But we were so just desperate for people like actually telling us stories of some weight that
When
we went with it.
when did that end, Game of Thrones?
2017, 2018, something
Okay,
like
so
that.
I
Yeah.
would say the last big one was probably Avengers Endgame
Mm.
that came just after, and then that
Mm.
was the last, like, cultural moment where everybody had to see it, and
Okay,
that one was
so
like,
we got
it
a super chat that we need to answer. Tom,
oh, okay.
Do you think Scott got lucky with Blade Runner? No, I think Ridley Scott's brilliant. He just has
He
a
is.
problem that he shoots the script that he buys.
Yeah.
And sometimes he buys crappy scripts. The Man in
He's
High
also kind
Castle
of an
show
asshole.
was not trash. I disagree. The first three seasons are excellent. The fourth season, to wrap it up, I don't think it's particularly good. And a film or a miniseries of the Three Sigmatter Palmer Eldritch, not
Mm,
Aldrich, Eldritch, would be amazing, but it's a nigh unfilmable. I was going to make a Palmer Eldritch reference earlier when we were talking about Tenet. Tenet's
mm,
a movie that you try and figure out the timeline of. Do yourself a favor if you've ever read Palmer Eldritch, sit down and try and break down the time, break down when reality breaks and whose reality timeline is going. And you can't. It's a movie where everything just kind of blends together. Dog Day Afternoon, by the way, is an excellent example of the kind of movie I was
mm.
talking about. By the way, I'm like reading the chat. I used to do this shit when I used to live stream.
Yeah,
By the
that's
way,
okay. I love yeah,
talk and
I
then read
like
the
the live
chat while I do
streaming,
it.
and that's good.
And American Graffiti is one of the great movies of all
It's
time.
fantastic.
But I will say that I would love to see them try Palmer Eldritch. And in a previous life, um, Dexter White and I were attached to some people who were attached to we were trying to make we were trying to get scripts developed and whatnot. We were attached kind of that obliquely with getting into the film
Mhm,
industry. And we had decided that if I was going to write the screenplay for Ubik, then he was going to do Palmer Eldritch,
mm.
and that's his favorite Philip K. Dick book because of all the stuff about media and perception and drugs and
Mhm,
all that
yeah.
stuff. Whereas mine is, I'm really into the 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 Ubik is like the distillation of everything that Vic was writing about in the in the mid
Mm,
'60s, into one perfect treatise on, what a man, what a fallen man has to do to redeem himself and to become one and become a member of become a member of society. And of course, in
gotcha.
Ubik, he has to die in order to do it. But different issue completely. So for me, like these were these passion projects. Ubik and Amber for me were the two big
Yeah,
passion
yeah.
projects. That and to do a film adaptation of The Question.
Mm,
The DC character, The Question, it would be the three things. If I could sit down and develop three films before I die, those would be the three films that I would do.
yeah,
But
nice. Maybe you, with your wife, you could
it'll
figure
never happen. It'll never happen. So,
But well, Philip Regan and Philip K. Dick is a great example of why these stories matter. Because Dick like
mhm,
was able to paint a picture of so many things ahead of their time,
mhm,
kind of give us ideas of how to navigate this stuff, what could happen in the future, and that's why sci-fi in general can be very important when done right
oh yeah,
by the right people. But like you were saying. the cultural moments and how they're trying to take those away from us. And
Mhm.
I mean, think about how everything's been done now. Now everything is streaming. I see a great show, I might be the only one who sees it out of all my friends. You know, like an example of this
This
is a
is
couple
important.
years ago, the show Shogun came out.
Mm.
Wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful
I
10-episode show. Nobody saw it except for like me and five other people that I know. You know, but that used to be something that good 10 years ago, 15 years ago would have been a cultural moment, but they've split
yeah,
us all up. So now it's this hodgepodge. And so, yeah, if the Odyssey is one of those chances
yeah.
to gain that back. Now, Spider-Man will be another one a couple weeks later, but Marvel's losing its trust. DC's falling apart. And so,
Again,
yeah,
all
they're
these things
killing
were
it
done
for
on
all of us.
purpose. All
Yeah.
okay. So the commies wanted to destroy the cathedral. They
Hmm.
wanted to destroy the meeting place. They wanted to destroy community. And
Yeah.
to destroy community, they have to destroy all the things that we love that bring us together.
Hmm.
So they have to destroy music and make it soulless. They
Yeah.
have to destroy movies so that we don't all go to the movie theater.
Mhm.
Like Tom Cruise and his quest to bring
Oh
everybody to
my
the
gosh.
theater. Again, same thing with Chris Nolan. I applaud Nolan's desire to work still on film and not digital,
Yeah.
to work to make things go to the movies first. Like, yeah, you should go see things in the theaters. We should have a shared experience.
Mhm.
Like, what did I go see recently that was a good time? Oh, it was The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
that
it's
was
a Star
fun.
Wars movie.
I
By the way, it was a
enjoyed it.
good I enjoyed the shit out of it, and
Yeah,
the theater had we I went to see it on, like, a Thursday at 2 o'clock in the
sure.
afternoon, and the theater was half full, and we had a good time,
Mhm.
and people were cheering, they were laughing at the jokes. It was a good film to bring adults and their kids to go to the theaters and have a shared experience together.
Yeah.
Look, for lack of a better term, in a culture where they've taken our religion away from us, and they've made us all think religion sucks. The movie theater is our temple.
Yeah.
And so if you take away the temple,
Mhm. Yeah.
and what's the most successful thing at the temple in the last 15 years? Thanos,
Mhm. Communism. Yeah.
communism.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that they and the what pissed me off when I finally watched Infinity War, which I watched it one night. I watched Endgame and Infinity War at like, I don't know, midnight through 6 a.m. one morning, one night on my
That's a long
couch.
watch.
Yeah, it was, and, obviously, I didn't work the next day. Um, when I finally watched what they were doing and I saw that they were trying to make Thanos, um,
Sympathetic?
sympathetic,
Yeah.
I went, "Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
you motherfuckers, no."
Mhm.
I fucking hate those movies.
Yeah.
I hate them, I hate them, and I hate them. I can't hate them enough because of that. Thanos rhymes with Davos. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, so it was really important to understand what they were trying to do with the Marvel films.
Mm.
And so now let's go back and talk about the Snyderverse and how those films out box officed, by the way, all the Marvel films that were of the era.
Mm.
And yet go watch the theatrical cut and the ultimate cut of BVS, of Batman v Superman.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
you
way
tell
different.
me,
Way
and you
different.
tell not just way different. One is an act of editorial vandalism
Yes. Yeah.
designed to make the movie
Well, just
incomprehensible.
like Justice League.
Well, I mean, the
That's
Joss
even
Whedon
more
Justice League
egregious.
was, well, it was, but what they did to BVS was they had to stop it then dead cold, so that then they could justify taking Justice League away from Snyder.
Mm.
And uh,
Interesting. I hadn't thought about
and
that.
oh no, DC
That makes
has to be
sense.
destroyed because
Yeah.
DC's pantheon, DC's Oh, look, Marvel has always been the fucking playground of of Brooklyn and Upper East Side Marxists in New York City.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be
No, no, I've
like
read
Frank.
the whole, see, I'm a
Yeah,
Marvel fan. I grew up on X-Men
yeah.
before it went crazy, but, back when it was, the Claremont stuff, yeah, I was a
No,
big
I'm
fan.
going back to the Steve Ditko stuff
No, I know.
when Dick Ditko left
Yeah,
Marvel, yeah, after Stan Lee basically stole Spider-Man from him. He walked
yeah.
away from it. Now, Ditko was, it was his own kind of autistic
Well, Stan
jackass,
Lee just stole
but
everything. I mean, he stole
but
John Byrne. I mean,
yeah, he did.
he stole everything. But all I was gonna say is I've read the book, it's a really good book. It's about
Mm,
Marvel's founding, but you're
mm,
100% right.
mhm.
Yeah.
There's a great book out there about Steve Ditko, actually. The guy published a biography on Steve Ditko. Um, that I read. I have it on my shelf. I don't remember Dicko Unchained, Dicko Unleashed. I don't know,
Mm,
something like that. I can't remember, but I have it down. It's down in my other home down in Florida.
mhm.
It's a good book. It'll give you an idea of what's going on with it, what happened with Ditko and why he walked away and everything else. But understand that, especially in the 70s, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like all the stuff in the 70s, it was just a home for Marxists, both at Marvel and DC.
Yeah, yeah.
But DC then starts moving into that era of, after they buy Charlton, and then we have the nurturing of the British New Wave.
Mm,
We have Frank Miller, The Dark Knight Returns, Ronin,
yeah,
all that stuff. You have the early Alan Moore stuff, which is also very good.
very good.
Um, and then we get Grant Morrison and Peter Milligan. We get the second wave and all the stuff, all the
Mhm.
people that were that were cultivated by Karen Berger when she was the editor over at DC. Um, those guys, they did something that made comics now vital. And I collected comics actively from, like, this is by the way, the same time that Dave Sim was doing Cerebus. All of that, I have all of that stuff from like
Cerebus, holy cow,
1987,
I haven't thought about Cerebus in so long.
87 through like 2000, right? I collected comics.
Wow.
That's like that's the highlight. That's when Garth Ennis took over Hellblazer. That's when
Yeah, yeah.
all these guys, right? And so all this great stuff. That's when Preacher got done.
Mhm.
That's when Alan Grant was doing Lobo. That's when
Yeah.
and the Demon. That's
We
when
had writers back then. We used to be a
John
country,
Ostrander,
folks. We used to be a country.
John John Ostrander was doing the Spectre and the Martian Manhunter. God, were those books with the
So
Spectre?
good.
Tom Mandrake's artwork. Oh my
Oh, yeah.
God, was that shit so good?
So
So,
good.
that's what the Snyderverse was riffing off of,
Mhm.
right? They were riffing off of that entire era
Yeah, yeah.
of DC. That's when Green Lantern got good. That's when Jeff Johns took Green Lantern to another level. Or later, and the second wave of that was that Mark Waid took over the Flash and made it good. Bill Mizner Lowe's started the Flash. He was really good. Like that whole era of DC Comics is truly outstanding.
Mhm.
Morrison's Animal Man and Doom Patrol are light years ahead of
Oh, yeah.
anything
So
else you've
good.
ever read.
Mhm.
Same thing with the Invisibles and all of the Morrison stuff from that time. So, like, there's so much good stuff in there, and that's what they were mining. They were mining a a return to great storytelling, because they all understood that the DC pantheon are the gods. So the
Yeah,
Greek
they're
gods
gods.
are,
Yeah. Mhm.
right. They're gods reimagined, and so we had to tear them down
Mhm.
and build Marvel's, you know, everyday heroes,
Yeah, yeah.
the whole Marxist everyday hero fighting for the common man bullshit. Um, they had to build that up.
Mhm.
And I don't ascribe that to John Favreau when he did the original Iron Man, obviously, because they
No,
didn't have a
no, no.
universe. But once it became a thing, then it became very obvious what Feige and those guys were trying to do, and it became a very obvious thing to promote that and destroy DC.
Mm.
And I saw it coming with BVS. I saw the backlash back then of how YouTube was used to destroy the Snyderverse back then. I saw it coming. I saw it, the same thing was happening. I saw the same thing happen with the backlash against The Last Jedi. And I said, oh, look, the Marxists are controlling the squelch button and the dial button, and they're amplifying the criticism, and they're suppressing,
Yeah.
the people who get it. And remember, I mean, at the end of the day, Zack Snyder took the ultimate pine to Marxism, The Watchmen, which is
Mm.
literally the Hobbesian, dialectic,
Yeah, yeah.
writ large, and then told from an anti-capitalist point of view.
Mhm.
And he turned it around, and as opposed to the dumb alien invasion thing, made made the bad guy Dr. Manhattan's
Makes
power
so much more
itself.
sense in the movie.
Ooh, yeah, it does. It
Mhm.
really does. Because now
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's not A and B, right? In Hobbes, A is going to fight B unless S, the Superman, keeps A and B
Mhm.
in line. That's the false premise
Yeah.
of Hobbes, and the false premise of Watchmen. And then Snyder and Goyer turn around and make S the problem. And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh, yes." That's why the movie's better than the graphic novel,
Uh-huh.
by the way.
I actually agree
So,
with that. Yeah, and which is I know it's, some people would call that, heresy.
sacrilege.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is that, those original Snyder movies, especially Man of Steel, I'm
Mm,
not sure about the other 2, but they were produced by Nolan,
Mhm.
so there's a Nolan tie there as well.
Look, friggin' Man of Steel blew my ass away.
I
Like,
like Man of Steel.
I didn't see it when it first came out, right?
Yeah.
I just went along to get I wasn't watching movies at that point. Hell, I could barely afford to go to the movies when it came out. Um, and, uh And so one night, something I like to do is that I'll stop at the pawn shop on the way home, and I'll just go through the Blu-ray bins or the DVD bins and find movies
Mm,
I hadn't seen before, and say, "Hey, let's
mhm.
see. Oh, look, $2. Oh, Man of Steel, the Ridley Scott's Robin Hood with Russell Crowe and Kate Blanchett. It's not a bad movie, by the way. A couple others I pulled like the remake of Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. I found them all for
Mhm.
like $2. If I like them, great. If I don't like them, I throw the whole
Yeah.
thing in the garbage and move on. Right. Um, Man of Steel, we were like 45 minutes into Man of Steel when it's the whole during the sequence when the virtual Russell Crowe is
Yes.
leading him
Riding it.
out of the ship. I'm like,
That part's cool. Yeah.
I looked at my wife and she looked at me and I just stopped and went, "Is this not movie not fucking amazing or what?" She's like, "I know, I hate Superman. I know, I hate Superman too." And like, oh my god! And if I've watched Man of Steel once, I've watched it 20 fucking times.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
every time I like need to like feel, like, good about the world, I watch
Yeah,
fucking Man
yeah.
of Steel.
Russell Crowe as Kal-El is awesome,
Oh god, it's such a good
it's so
story.
that was
Such
on
a
that Russell Crowe run too, where it's like if
mm,
he was in a movie, you had to go see it. All the way
mm,
from, like, LA Confidential through Man of
Law
Steel.
Confidential, great movie,
Oh,
great
yeah,
movie.
you just like if Crowe was in a movie I contend he had one of the great movie runs of all time, if not one of the greatest, just 10 years straight
Yeah,
when you just
yeah,
you
I
know
mean, there's so many good ones, and, hell, the Sam Raimi movie, The Quick and the Dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could
Great
go back
freaking movie.
you could start there, and then you got
Oh, yeah.
Virtuosity, those early ones are fun, man,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
what I always liked about Crow is he was unabashedly masculine male, like, I
Mhm.
don't give a F, like, this is who I am, enjoy it, and he was a movie star because we don't have movie stars anymore. I mean, you're talking about these great comic writers, we're talking about directors, we don't have movie stars anymore. We have people who show up and act in movies and become famous on a roll, and that's
Yeah,
about it,
no.
you know,
Well, we're finding out, like, we've always thought that we always thought that we go to see movies for the actors. We don't. We really see them we see them for the writers, we see them for the grips, we see
Mhm.
them for everything else. Um, the reality is that, there are great actors out there, and
Mhm.
they are trying to do good work. I really wish they would. Now I'm not drinking moonshine with that cigar. Lemon. It's just homemade lemonade, dude. That's all.
It's quite a
I
combo.
wish it. No, I'm actually I've sworn myself off of alcohol for a few months. I'm trying to lose some weight
Good for
and
you,
save my
man.
liver save my liver.
Well,
Um,
stars and stars also used to be they had more power, so they could choose like, good movies,
yeah,
and so,
Harrison
like,
Ford.
yeah, exactly. So, like, you
Yeah,
could be an actor, and it used to be if an actor would headline a movie, you'd be like, "Okay, it probably is worth watching." Tom Cruise is the last one, and I
I,
mean
I hate to say it. I have a real soft spot. I don't give a shit how bad the movie is. If it's Mel Gibson's in it, I'm watching it.
oh,
Like,
hell yeah. I
I
just
mean,
watched
dude, I've
I
seen
just
some
went through
real.
all the
I've seen.
Lethal Weapons again. They're
Oh,
fantastic,
well,
especially 1 and 2.
one is excellent.
You don't like
I like
2? Oh,
yeah, 2 was okay.
I like 2.
I'm having a hard time now with the whole, free apartheid thing and
Oh,
the whole Danny
see,
Glover.
yeah, when I
Danny Glover's just a piece of
if
shit
a
because
movie's
like
30 plus years old, I don't even to me, it's just a plot point. I don't even
sure, fair
bring it
enough,
in,
fair
but
enough.
now it's like, "Oh, I'm living it,"
310 to
so it's a
Yuma,
lot more
310 to
painful.
Yuma. Yes.
310
Yes. James
unbelievable.
Mangold, like,
Yeah, Mangold's good.
give it up for Mangold. Like,
Yeah.
the what he did for I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but the last Indiana Jones flick was good.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it, I was shocked.
I loved
Like,
it. We went to see it
Phoebe
in the theater.
Waller-Bridges wasn't able to ruin it. I was
No,
surprised.
she wasn't. She was actually usable, and she was wonderful. She was actually
Yeah,
quite good in as the foil to him.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I was
she
just
ruined
yeah,
Bond, but she
conspiracy
wasn't able
one.
to ruin Indiana Jones, She did the last
She
Bond she wrote the last Bond movie, which
did she?
I
The
believe
No Time to
so.
Die?
Yeah.
I don't think she wrote it. I think she probably script doctored it.
That
It
maybe
wasn't
that's it. It was a lot of her
yeah,
dialogue, I know that.
yeah, there was some of that.
And that's why they
Um,
made him so much weaker and, the feminist people were so the ladies were so much more strong in that one. He wasn't slinging it around like usually.
he was also
Yeah,
old, and it was supposed to be the
yeah.
end of his
I
story
like the
too,
new
and
Bonds, don't get me wrong. I like
oh,
Daniel
yeah, I do.
Craig Bonds.
I think Daniel
Skyfall,
Craig's Bond is yeah.
It's
Well,
unbelievable.
I still think it's Christina Royas is the best one of
Oh,
those
it's
by
so good. Yeah,
oh my god, holy
yeah,
shit.
yeah. But
And
that last
Skyfall
20 minutes of Skyfall,
is
that
excellent.
that set
Is
piece, oh my god,
yeah, yeah.
so
It's
good.
so good. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even mind. I actually like Quantum of Solace
Yeah.
as flawed a movie as it is, and as hyperkinetic as the editing is. I think
Mhm.
I've watched Quantum of Solace enough times. My wife's like, I can't watch it. It just makes me seasick. I'm like, fair. I'm not going to argue, but I mean,
Yeah. It's like
as a
being on
movie,
speed, but
yeah, as a movie, it's quite a good movie actually.
mhm. I think they
It's kind of
all
a
are fine.
I
Even
think it's a
Spectre is fine.
yeah, it reminds me actually in many ways of the older Bond films in kind of
Mhm.
tone, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all these, French yeah, I think a lot of French actors in that movie. And so
Mhm.
it had that feel of like
Mm.
the weird
Yeah.
Roger Moore Bond films from the 70s. It had that
Mhm.
vibe to it. And, whatever his name is, Green,
Eva
Dominic
Green?
Green. No,
Oh, Dominic
Dominic
Green,
Green
Dominic Green.
is
Oh,
the
he's a
bad
good
guy.
villain. He's a good villain.
He's a good villain in that movie.
Mhm.
And so all of that stuff, and it's a solid movie. It's not great. It's clear that they were having trouble
They're
with the
all
script, and
watchable, I'll put it that
yeah,
way.
they are, they are.
It's not like the, Die Another Day or nonsense that like
Mm,
Brosnan's last one is, which is
right,
completely unwatchable.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I like Bond, and so but again, like, everything we're talking about, this is why it's important, guys. Even just us talking about it is why it's important. It's
right. Think
memories.
about it. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
shared memories. It's
Mm,
this brings us together. Tom and I can riff on movies all night long, and after
mm.
this, we're gonna be like, "We had a great conversation," even if it went nowhere. That's
Yeah,
why this matters.
and well, again, and remember, it's about we have to try and bring back the temple.
Mhm.
So it's why I applauded Favreau and Filoni working so hard to try and make the Mandalorian and
Yeah,
Grogu into a good movie for the theaters. It didn't matter if the box office was
and
stellar
they
or not.
decided to destroy it ahead of time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was listening, I still listen to a podcast, I don't even know why I listened to it because they've just gone so far off the deep end, but it's kinda get their thinking. They were trying to destroy it even ahead of time.
of
It
course they
it
were.
you know?
There's a whole set of that we so in Star Wars fandom there is our Tucker Carlson, our Candace Owens, our Alex Jones. They are Grace Randolph, John Campea,
Mm.
that whole crew, and then a
Mhm.
couple others. And again, I have a very love hate relationship with some of the guys like Critical Drinker and others. I
Me too.
actually can't stand them for the most part because they are trying so hard to hold up. This is what I think part of the problem with the Odyssey. They're trying
Mhm.
to hold up a standard that
Yes.
is not a standard they should be trying to defend.
It's also a standard that's never really been there.
Right.
There
That's
are
excellent.
legitimate things, but at the same time, like, Hollywood's never been perfect, and it's
Mhm.
always taken liberties, and
Mhm.
now we're in a very specific season where those liberties
Man
they're
from
more
Uncle.
political than maybe in the past, but it's not that standard. There never was a time when Hollywood got it right in everything they did. We've always, that's kind of the love of it, is the
Mhm.
flaws. It,
Mhm.
it makes it more fun. It makes it kind of interesting. And then when they knock it out of the park, when you get a perfect film, it just is like, oh, Shangri-La. Like,
Right. Well, this is the interesting part about, think about you invoked the Rocky earlier.
mhm,
I was 11, I was 10 when Star Wars came out.
yeah.
I was 11 when I finally saw it because it took a year to actually get to my area of upstate New York to finally see it. Because back then, folks, I hate to remind you, but movies like Star Wars came out in like five major markets, and then they made more prints, and then they distributed more prints to the secondary markets,
Mhm.
and then I was in a tertiary market in upstate New York, so it took a year
Oh my God.
for it to come anywhere. No, I didn't see it until the first day it was available within a half an hour of my house in upstate New
Mhm.
York, and that was at the Squire Theater in Newburgh. And we went to see it that night, and we had to stand in the line for 45 minutes to get tickets. And we couldn't pre-order them. You had to stand in the line with my mom and my dad. My mom fell asleep. My dad and I had a great time. And because my mom always fell asleep during movies, it didn't matter what movie it was. She fell asleep during Star Wars. Like that was my mom. That's the last thing I have to say about my mom. But um, the but it was July 10th, 1978. Now I've seen Star Wars in the
Wow.
theaters like 14 times
Oh my God.
over multiple
Okay,
releases.
okay.
Yes,
With the
yeah, yeah.
special editions. Yeah.
No, no, not just with the special editions. Like it was re-released.
Oh,
over
wow.
and over again, all every time they released a new movie, like they
Wow.
released Star Wars again. So I got to see it in 1980. I got to see it in 1981. I got to see it in
Okay.
1983.
Oh
Right.
my god.
I went to see it three times one afternoon, two or three times one afternoon with my dad up in Poughkeepsie because it was playing on a re-release in 1982
Uh-huh.
because it was the year of X. Because my dad went to see Nighthawks with Sylvester Stallone
Oh,
and Rutger Hauer and Excalibur,
wow. Oh,
and
wow.
so he went to see Excalibur because he didn't want to watch Star Wars again because he loved Star Wars, but he didn't want to
Yeah.
watch it again. So he went to see Excalibur, and I watched Star Wars, and then we got out of it, and I'm like, Dad, can I watch it again? He's like, Yeah, I'll go. And then he went and watched Nighthawks with Sylvester
Mm,
Stallone, which was a movie that he and I watched together on videotape when it came out
yeah.
multiple times. It's a good movie, solid movie actually.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of it. My dad introduced me to all the great movies of the '60s, so I got to
Mhm.
see, Guns of Navarone. I got to see Stalag the '40s, not Stalag 17, Lawrence of Arabia, and like all that stuff. We watched everything together.
Mhm.
Sergeant York,
Yeah.
with Gary Cooper. Like I've seen all of that stuff, and asked me what my third favorite movie of all time is behind Star Wars and Patton. It's the
What's that?
Maltese Falcon. It's the Maltese
Oh,
Falcon.
wow.
Oh
Wow,
yeah,
way back.
fuck yeah. It's like
That's a great film. Yeah, great
it's
film. Yeah.
it may be the it may it's that talk about movie stars, right?
Mhm.
So like but this is how we introduced each other to each other's generational touchstones. So he
Yeah,
introduced
yeah.
me to big man music and movies that he grew up with and whatnot. He and I, we watched Blade Runner together, we watched Brazil together, we
Mm.
watched all the Road Warrior and all that stuff. But yeah, if I've seen Star Wars once in the theaters,
Yeah,
I've seen it
it's a
probably 14
bonding. I had
times.
the same thing with my dad. I mean,
Mm,
my favorite, movie memory with my dad, and I have quite a few of them, but it's, so in '98, Saving Private Ryan came out, and my
mm,
dad is, he was an immigrant. He came over when he was only
mm,
5 months old. His dad brought him over from Austria, and it
mhm.
was like, "We're going to the place where there's freedom. We're leaving totalitarianism. We're never coming back." So my
My
dad was like hardcore patriot, never forget what it costs, freedom. And so him and my mom went and saw Saving Private Ryan. My brother and I were at home watching TV. My dad gets home from the movie, says, "Boys, come with me." And we get in the car and he takes us back to see it and he says, "I never want you guys to glorify war and to understand what it costs." And we were like, "Whoa!" I was 15.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. But that's like that was one of the ways my dad taught me. It was through shared experiences like that.
Mhm.
And then one of my other favorite memories is the last movie I ever saw with him before he passed away was Dark Knight Rises. And I got to take him to that, knowing
Nice,
that
yeah.
dad, you're gonna love this. And
Yeah,
he did.
so yeah, it was funny, like, when I went to school in Florida, my parents were still up in New York, so
Mhm,
I would go home for the summers for those first couple of years, and, during those summers, he and I would go to the movies a lot, so
mhm.
we saw a bunch of stuff in the theaters together, in the last year that I was in high school, and then, so, like, through '85, I was old enough now to go see R-rated in his mind,
Mhm.
R-rated movies, even though I saw Blade Runner when I was 13, right? And The Road Warrior because, I could buy a ticket to Tron and then go see the other ones, right?
Yeah, back
Um,
then it was easy to do.
no, back then you could buy a ticket for the matinee show and then stay at the movie theater all
You
day.
could watch 6 movies.
My mom would just
Yeah,
leave me there and then she'd pick me up at the end of the day and
I
I
did
would
it
just
plenty of
watch.
times.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. The 14 plex up in Middletown and I saw everything there. And in
Mhm.
1982, I saw Tron 8 times in the theaters. I saw The Road Warrior 5 times. I saw Blade Runner 3 or 4 times. I saw The World According to Garp at least 5 times. Like I saw all of these movies over and over and over again, and they played
Yeah.
in the theaters forever and a day. It was great. So, but we saw like the Deadpool together. We saw Pale Rider together,
Mm.
which was great. We got to see a Clint Eastwood movie together, and
Yeah.
he and I had already watched like Outlet Josie Wales and
Uh-huh.
all that stuff, Dirty Harry, and all those movies. Um, but we went to see Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, man.
Now I saw Full Metal Jacket the first time with my friend on the opening night,
Mhm.
and you know how much I can talk, Ace. That's the only movie I walked out of other than Schindler's List. And
Mm.
when I was done, I didn't have a thing to say for 45 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
I was there with my friend that my friend who was the drummer in my band from high school,
Mhm.
and our whole relationship was sitting at the diner drinking coffee for $2 and just talking until 2 o'clock in the morning. That was our most of our and driving around and trying to get lost just for something
Yeah.
to do. And we walked out of Full Metal Jacket, and it was silent
Yeah,
from
wow.
Newburgh back to Central Valley, which is about a 20-minute trip. And then
Yeah,
we got to this, and we were coffee. We didn't say
yeah,
a word.
wow.
And I took him to see Full Metal Jacket, and then I took my mom to see Full Metal Jacket. I made my mom go see Full Metal Jacket, and knowing full well that my mom doesn't like bad language in movies or bad language, period. And so the thought, and I'm like, you're going to hate the first 3 minutes of this movie, and by
Uh-huh.
the end of the opening scene, you will be laughing your ass off
Mm,
at Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. And by God, if it didn't happen,
yeah,
because she
wow.
was so good, and
Mhm.
and she wasn't crazy about it, but she got through it. Big Sleep is a great movie. Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, by the way, streaming hack I was told from Dexter White recently is that Criterion has an app, and $100 a year gets you the entire Criterion collection of all their movies
For $100?
for $100 a year.
That's nothing. Alright,
That's
I gotta look into
nothing.
that. That's nothing.
That's a good one right there. Like,
That's killer. That's like 8
yeah,
bucks a month.
yeah.
I gotta look into that. Yeah, so let's get back to Star Wars, Tom, because
Mhm.
this is something that, so I we just talked about Mandalorian. You and I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was just a perfect adventure movie. I
Mhm.
have nothing bad about it at all.
Mhm.
And this is where I've already seen stuff in the chat, so this is gonna light up the chat. I liked The Last Jedi, as I know
Mhm.
you did. And I, even with Rise of Skywalker, as much of a mess of that movie was,
Yes.
I I got to write a review for that movie where I explained how Star Wars has always been a mess that just kind of comes together on the fly and not to expect otherwise. And when I heard you talking about that, I was like, oh my God, I've got to have Tom come on and
Mhm.
talk about this with me, because
Sure.
Star Wars like it or not, Star Wars is kind of the great art of American entertainment.
Yes, it is.
It's what brought us together more than any other thing. People don't remember what it was like in the early '90s without new Star Wars. How desperate we were, reading every little rumor I could find. And
Reading those horrible books that they published, and
oh yes, just horrible. I read one. It was the Crystal Star. It's just one of the worst books I've ever read, and I probably read it 3 times. So I'm so desperate for Star
okay, so I got a couple of things to say about this. I've talked about them in other podcasts, but we'll rehash them here. I read a great article a few years ago. I didn't hold on to it, and I probably should have, of how the Star Wars original West End game, Star Wars role playing game, saved Star Wars.
Mm,
Because after Return of the Jedi, and you got to remember that in 1983, Star Wars was still considered low culture.
yeah.
Okay. So the snobs all hated it. The movie critics were never happy that they couldn't predetermine what was good and what wasn't, because they're all fucking British Marxists. So Star Wars was the geek. It was like the epitome of geek culture. And it was still a little thing that we loved, even though it
Yeah.
was this massive thing,
Yeah.
right? It was still at its core, once it was over, it was still our thing as geeks.
Mhm. Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Yeah, I like Star Wars, but the acting's terrible," or whatever other thing you heard a
Sure.
thousand times from your parents, or from this one or from that one, right? And that you heard parroted from the from Rolling Stone, or from the film critics and whatnot. And so when it was over, it was like, we did it.
Mhm.
Because remember, Lucas used Star Wars to create Lucasfilm, get his independence from Hollywood, and really pay off that 15 years of what started with Zoetrope,
Yeah.
right? American Zoetrope. And he finally completed what they were originally trying to do back in 1968 when they formed Zoetrope. And if you want some good history on this, there's a lot of good history um, on Disney Plus about all this stuff. Because
Hmm.
watch the documentary on Zoetrope, and you'll understand
Uh,
how a lot of this stuff is
Also,
important.
just
How
to interject
Coppola.
real quick for everybody who gets mad that modern movies were commercialized, Lucas was the master of commercializing Star
Well,
Wars.
what happened with Star Wars was that Lucas got paid a pittance for
Mhm.
directing the movie. In order to cut
Yes.
the deal, but he said, I want the merchandising
Genius.
rights. And they didn't, they said, well, they're not worth anything. So yeah, you can have those. And then he, of course, used the merchandising in order to,
Yeah.
make the money, and then use that merchandising money to make The Empire Strikes Back. And
Mhm.
then the box office from The Empire Strikes Back, which he controlled, and Fox only got a cut
Yeah.
of the distribution rights, gave him the ability to make Return of the Jedi and then build Lucasfilm and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so all of that. Okay. Now let's move forward. So for 16 years, we have no Star Wars, and it's only the Star Wars fans through the role playing game, the books, this, that, and all the stuff keeping Star Wars alive, and home video and a variety of other things. But really, and
Some
so
good
then we
video
get
games,
yeah,
X-Wing, Rogue
and oh
Squadron.
yeah, X-wing. I know.
Yeah.
Like my wife at one point called herself an X-wing widow. Then she called herself a World of Warcraft widow, and then yeah, today she's a Guild Wars widow. Yada yada yada. So, um, the we get to the Phantom Menace, and I remember everybody. I remember Chris Gore and at Film Threat going, George Lucas raped my childhood, and driving Ahmed Best to suicide and nearly to suicide. I mean, he seriously thought about killing himself for with the backlash over Jar Jar
Oh,
Binks,
yeah,
and
that was
it was
real.
awful.
That's real.
What they did to him was terrible. So
What they did
I
to
want to
Jake
set
Lloyd too.
yeah,
Yeah.
what they did to Jake Lloyd. So what I want to remind everybody about that Star Wars isn't science fiction. It's
Mhm.
not fantasy.
Nope.
It's creation myth.
Yeah.
It's inconsistent and it makes no sense. And it's not supposed to make any sense except thematically. The
Mhm.
more inconsistencies, good creation myth actually has weird inconsistencies in it, because it's the
Yeah.
inconsistencies that trigger your right brain and trigger you to stop thinking about all this other bullshit, the stuff
Mhm.
that's in front of you, and think about
Yeah.
what it means thematically.
Yeah.
Um, I remember going to see Jordan Peterson in Jacksonville in 2018. He was doing this lecture tour thing, and he never knew what he was going to talk about that night. So that night he decided to talk about the Egyptian creation myth and about how powerful it was that this weird ass story, which he then tells like the high
Mhm.
points of the whole story, Osiris with the getting broken into bits and pieces, and then and then and then his wife, taking the piece of his dick and impregnating herself with it in order to make Set, and blah 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 blah. And it's like it's this dumb friggin' story, right? Doesn't make any goddamn sense, except that dumb damn story, was powerful enough thematically to sustain a culture for over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Now, Star Wars has that same kind of power. The more you bitch about it, the more all the high points stay in the
Mm.
hindbrain and you think about it.
Mm.
So I can separate my I can separate any commentary about the execution of any particular Star Wars film
Sure. 100%. Yeah.
from what it's trying to accomplish thematically and whatnot. And
Mhm.
so each trilogy is a reflection of the generation
Mm.
that is in their preteen years at that moment in time.
Hmm.
So it was the right story to be told for young kids like myself, the
Yeah.
first generation of Americans who were being actively told to divorce themselves from their Christian heritage
Mm.
by the school system with this creeping Marxism and teach them anti-heroic storytelling. It was
Mm.
coming out of that 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 era we just talked about, that
Yeah.
1970s,
Yeah, yeah.
mean streets thing. And so you get Rocky in November of 1976 and you get Star Wars in May of 1977, and all of a sudden we have two galvanizing events
Mm.
for a generation of young boys who who are rudderless and are living under the specter of nuclear war.
Wow. Yeah, people don't talk
N-
about that first Rocky enough.
Right.
That
I
that
agree. I
happened,
agree. I agree. So now move forward to 1999. The millennials are dealing with the real breakdown and the potential breakdown of the republic
Mm.
after 9/11 and this. And I mean, it's presaging 9/11, obviously.
Sure, sure.
But artists get there first. They get into the zeitgeist
Yeah.
early.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
so, right.
100%.
So he's talking about the political problems of what's going to happen when we lose our republic. And now the sequel films are are what we're dealing with today,
Mm.
presaging what we were going to deal with 5 years from now, which was woke culture
Mm.
and the end game of third wave feminism and the
Yeah.
end of third wave communism, of the communist a communist takeover where the cathedral's been destroyed, Gender roles are inverted. Women are all animus possessed from a Jungian perspective. The men are all anima possessed. They're like Kylo Ren is a mommy's boy who just wants his mommy to love
Yep.
him,
Yep.
right? It's like this is a classic thing, and it's a reflection of, no offense to the millennials in the audience, you ain't getting it done, boys, and
It's
because
true
you're
though.
not good enough for her,
Yeah.
and she unfortunately then has to like overcompensate and become more powerful and become more man than
Yeah.
men,
I
and
I
she
love
doesn't want to be that person. Ray
yes.
doesn't want to be
Yes.
that
It's
person.
so true, and I love the first time you brought this up because I just like them for on their own.
Mhm.
Didn't love didn't love, Rise of Skywalker as much as Force Awakens or Last Jedi, but I still, liked it, it's still fun. But when you broke this down, I hadn't thought of it like that, and, it's very much like the first movie that really did this, that saw this coming was Fight Club.
Yes,
But then the way you
yes,
broke that down was so brilliant. I was like, this is absolutely true. It's like we've had these artists ahead of time seeing the breakdown of masculinity in America and in the West, I should say, the whole West.
yeah,
What a
yeah,
problem it is, and what the results are of that. How what happens when you have a bunch of little boys running everything and forcing the women to step into roles they're not meant to. And
right,
this is one thing I talk about on my show a lot. And before I get back to you, because it's just so important, is that men are supposed to lead, and when we
yes,
don't, the other thing happens. And there's all this attack on women and stuff right now, and I get where a lot of it comes from, but
hmm,
the whole like pushing off the responsibility of this movement, this anger movement of guys, that's still boyhood, that's not masculinity.
yeah. You
Right.
guys are, yeah. That's exactly it. And what really bothered me was watching, and this is why I recognized very quickly in the backlash to The Last Jedi, which again, I'm not going to, yeah, if you have problems with The Last Jedi for a variety of reasons, I had a 2 hour conversation with Dexter White about
Mhm.
screenplay structure, Bob McKee's story, all this stuff, and
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson, and his. It was a great conversation, and to Dexter's point, he was like, "Look, Johnson could have compressed that story, never gone to Canto Bight,
Yeah.
moved them onto the supremacy, and then
Mhm.
put Finn and Rose in opposition with Phasma or somebody else, and it
Mhm.
would have worked, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I get it." But he went there, and he went there for whatever reason he wanted to.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
um, and it was a mistake. Probably is he a young director and a young screenwriter that overcomplicated a script and didn't know what to do and wrote himself into a corner? Okay, I get it. But the core story of Ray, Luke, Kylo Ren, and Poe versus the resistance establishment,
Mhm.
like, is
It's
spot
great.
on.
It's
It's
great.
spot on. It's spot
Mhm.
on. And
Yeah.
the movie would not be redeemable if after Poe's little rebellion, you don't have that great scene where the two old women stand over him after they've shot him,
They
and they're
like
like,
it.
and they're like, "Yeah, that one's trouble. I know. Kind of like him." And like they get it. They're like, Leia's constantly taking on the role of trying to teach Poe
Yeah.
what he needs to do. And
Well,
so
she
when
sees
you
a
look
little
at
Han in him too, and she sees
right,
how she knows what Han did, you know?
right, right,
Mhm.
exactly. That's a very good point as well. And Holdo, you could argue that Holdo's a mess of a character in many ways. And I'm not going to argue. I mean, again, you can either
Yeah.
like it or you don't like it. I look at Holdo and I say, you know, Leia just demoted you. We're in a crisis situation, and I can't tell you what's going on because I can't tell because I can't. I don't know because they don't know how they got
Yeah.
tracked through hyperspace. This is a very important plot point in the Last Jedi that
Yeah.
people want to gloss over in order to
Mhm.
be angry at Laura Dern and Holdo, which is that no one knows how they're getting tracked through hyperspace.
Yeah.
It could have easily been that Holdo was of the opinion that they had a mole,
Mhm.
they had
Yeah.
traitor,
Yeah.
and if so, then she can't trust anybody, and she's not going to give their plan. She's certainly not going to give her plan to a hothead like Poe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
the
get
way
I
I
mean,
always read. That's the way I always read it. The
the
first time
whole
I watched the
Holdo
movie, I'm
thing
like,
too, like, I watch a lot of movies, Tom, and
mhm,
and I'm pretty
mhm.
astute to the whole political thing. Like, I felt like she was pretty inoffensive. You had to kinda, like, try to and I
Purple
get why
hair really
people try
pissed
and
a lot of
everybody
people off. Yeah,
yeah, and nobody's Star Wars. Like, I mean, in a lot of ways, you can make the argument the sequels are better made than the prequels in some ways, and I
certainly from a story, certainly just from
yeah,
a story, character, like all those things perspective, like
direction standpoint.
direction.
Yeah.
Now, the shots. Now, I will say this: Lucas's photography
Oh, and he goes
in
for it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I would love a cut of the prequel films where
Mhm.
they're done as silent movies with John Williams' score,
They're beautiful.
and
Yeah.
they're beautiful and they tell the
Mhm.
story just fine.
Yeah.
And Lucas is no it's no lie that Lucas knows how to make a movie that's a silent movie, and
Yeah.
that the
What I always
dialogue
saw
is,
was Lucas's biggest issue with the prequels is that at that point, no one could tell him no. And,
mhm.
and so Lucas just was it was too much Lucas.
Yeah,
That's it is what
and
it
that
is. And I don't even hate the prequels. I just
yeah.
they drive me nuts.
Yeah, no, they do.
They're
I still like the
frustrating.
okay, so, that was actually started that problem that you just identified started with Return of the Jedi, which is why Gary
Mhm.
Kurtz left,
Yeah.
because Gary Kurtz said, flat out, he's like, "Lucas is more interested in selling toys than he is about telling a great
Mhm.
story." Um, Return of the Jedi, with Han Solo not sacrificing himself at the end of the movie for
Mhm.
the rebellion,
Yeah.
means that acts 1 and 2 of Return of the Jedi are meaningless. They're
Yeah.
useless. They don't
Yeah.
exist. Then it might as well be a short film that starts with them getting to Endor.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that's
At least act 1 is still of a hell of a good time though. The whole Tatooine thing.
but it's poorly directed.
It is. I mean, listen,
It's
I'm not gonna defend it, but I do love Jedi.
yeah,
It's got a soft
fair.
spot in my heart. And I will say the Vader Luke showdown is all time.
Oh
It's
yeah,
still
the last
fantastic.
45 minutes of Return of the Jedi
Yeah.
are among the best Star Wars ever. Star Wars, like
Oh
it's
yeah.
fucking great.
Yeah.
And to give you a perfect example, like I said, my dad loved Star Wars. He loved the
Mhm.
first movie. He loved The Empire Strikes Back. But I would sit and watch them like in order, and my dad would watch Star Wars and Empire with me. And then when I put on Jedi, he would go outside and smoke a cigarette. And then he'd time it to come back inside. I'm like, Dad, I'm starting Return of the Jedi. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then he'd go outside, smoke a
That's
cigarette. Then he'd
hilarious.
come back in for the third act and sit down and watch the third act with me every freaking time. I'm like, my dad was a better movie critic than 90% of the critics out there. He was so good.
I love it.
But I actually like of the prequel films, just to say, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Is like I really do like the Phantom Menace because it's the
Mhm.
honest George Lucas Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
The other two were clear ab reactions against the backlash in
Mhm.
some ways. Revenge of the Sith is solid, but it's got other problems. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
I agree.
but
I think it's way
but the Phantom
overrated.
Menace I think the Phantom Menace. Yeah, I agree. I think the Phantom Menace as a is I like the Phantom Menace because it's an honest movie. It's an
Mhm.
honest bad movie, but it's
Yes.
an honest movie.
Well, if you
And
remove Jar Jar and some of Jake Lloyd's lines in that movie, it's legitimately good for the most part. It's a little boring
well,
in parts, but
okay, I'm gonna give you the you want the breakdown on this one. This
I
one's
do.
easy.
I do.
Go watch the making of documentary about the Phantom Menace on the DVD/Blu-ray. It's
Mhm.
there. It's a 2-hour documentary. And at one point, while they're in Tunisia, Lucas turns to his cameraman or Rick McCallum or somebody and says, these things don't always work. We're just playing jazz here.
I love that.
Now, if you look at the Phantom Menace, whose story is it?
I mean, I would
Whose
say
story
it's
is it?
Qui-Gon's more than anybody else's. That one?
You could make that argument. You could also
No.
make the argument that it's Padme's story. You could
Yeah.
also make the argument that it's Anakin's story.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The
Yeah, you're
problem
right.
is
I mean, that's you I had to think about it even to try to throw
bingo.
some out there. Yeah,
It's a
it's not
very it's a
obvious.
very it's a very simple thing.
Mhm.
Lucas refused to choose his narrative focal character
Yeah.
and then hang all the secondary conflicts with the secondary characters to reinforce the
Mhm.
top one. He tried to make three
Good point.
stories simultaneously. And so the movie lacks narrative drive
Yeah, it
from
does.
an audience perspective. He broke the first rule of screenwriting, and this is where the artist George Lucas was resisting the commercial filmmaker George Lucas, and we got a mess. And what happened was he made an uncompelling movie with three great stories,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "I'm really bored, and why is this Jar Jar guy annoying the shit out of me?"
Exactly. Although the pod race in the theater
Yes,
was
it's phenomenal.
unbelievable, and so was the
It's
Darth Maul fight. That's still probably
yeah,
the high point of the whole
sure.
prequels.
But you
Mhm.
want those things to work
Yes.
in the context of a
Exactly.
compelling story.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
totally.
had you make that story about Qui-Gon Jinn's search, John the Baptist search for the Messiah, or you
Mhm.
make it truly about Padme's story to reclaim her planet,
Yeah,
which is an
yeah.
amazingly compelling story,
Sure.
and would also, by the way, make her a better character
Oh, yeah,
for the
she's
second 2 fucking
oh
movies.
my god. Don't get me started on that. The when we get to the Attack of the Clones, which is the hardest Star Wars to sit through,
Oh, it's awful.
like, that
It's just
the love story,
it's just awful.
it's so bad.
There's nothing real there's nothing really good about Attack of the Clones, unfortunately.
Mm,
That's the problem.
yeah.
And so, like, at the end of the day, Lucas made mistakes with the Phantom Menace. Someone should have said, "You need to make this Padme story. If you're gonna make Padme a central character for Anakin going forward so that she's a compelling character, and we need to have clues as to why she's gonna fall for him
Yeah,
as a
there's
teenager."
nothing.
We don't have that. We
Mm,
don't have any we didn't, we know that he just created the character of Count Dooku out of whole cloth for the second movie.
mhm,
Dave Filoni had to go back in Tales of the Jedi and fill that story in. I watched Tales of the Jedi, which there's the Dooku arc in Tales of the Jedi is
mhm,
phenomenal.
yeah.
Why? Because it tells the story of how Dooku falls when Qui-Gon's his Padawan.
Mm,
And so now we get the context
that makes so much
of
more
all of
sense.
this. Oh, yeah, yeah. Filoni fills that in beautifully. Like, if you
Mhm,
watch all of the stuff they've created,
yeah.
it all now makes a lot more sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
But,
but that's the thing too, it's like, that's fine, as long
mm,
as the standalone movies work, right? And
right.
and that's what the original trilogy had, and I would argue even the sequel trilogy had to some extent, loses a little
Yes.
bit in Rise of Skywalker, but Force Awakens, Last Jedi stand pretty well on their own. Um,
And Rise of Skywalker is, clearly, like, poor Chris Terrio, right? Who's a
mhm,
great screenwriter, by the way.
yeah.
By the way, BVS, that's Chris Terrio. And who's a
Mm,
massive Star Wars fan too, by the way.
okay.
And Chris Terrio, who has an Oscar for Argo with
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, um, back when the Oscar meant something. Great
I couldn't
screenwriter, and
that's
he
bigger
had
than
he
it
had
was
an
to me.
impossible task to craft a story out of and all those plot points and get it all done.
Yeah.
And he did yeoman's work. Like, that only
Mhm.
a screenwriter of his caliber could have even come close to writing a story for Rise of Skywalker that was somewhere close. They finally
Yeah,
made
yeah.
the decision as to who Rey's parentage was. She's
Mhm.
still, as much as I can argue for her being a Palpatine from a from one story's perspective, um, from one version of the story's perspective, the big story's perspective. I still think she should have been Obi-Wan's granddaughter
Yeah, it would have been better. It
because it would have validated Obi-Wan as the greatest Jedi and then the only
mhm.
person to survive this period, which is to wipe out the Palpatines and the Skywalkers, because the Force created the Skywalkers in
Mhm.
order to take down Palpatine. So
Yeah.
there should be nothing left in the end. Oh, by the way, the Star Wars films do not work at all if you do not understand that the Force is an active agent.
Mhm.
Okay, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it's
end of
always propelling things forward.
the end of the most obvious example of this is the end of the Force Awakens
Mhm.
when Rey accesses the dark side of the Force,
Yeah, yeah.
beats Kylo Ren, and then the planet splits in half so that she doesn't kill him
Yeah.
because the Force is like, nope, you have a different destiny than this. You can't kill
Mhm.
him.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, that's why I didn't get bothered when they'd introduce new force powers and stuff because it
Mhm,
makes sense if you understand, and I always was okay with that. And my other reasoning for that was like, well, if you're just basing it off the original 3 movies or even the prequels, we have so little text overall about what's possible with the force.
mhm.
So, I don't get bothered when they introduce new things that often. And even like the whole like Ray beating up Kylo Ren thing, it's like, well, you understand he's weakened, and
He was
it's
shot by
not
a Wookiee
like
by
a
a
lot of the
bowcaster.
criticism just doesn't hold up when you actually understand the story.
Well, there and that is just two things. So one, he just committed patricide.
Hmm.
And he was shot in the spleen
Yeah,
by a
yeah.
Wookiee bowcaster 3 times in the movie. They reminded us of just how powerful a Wookiee bowcaster actually is. I like this thing, and guys are flying across the room when they get shot from this thing,
Yeah,
and then Kylo Ren is like, "Ugh," and takes
yeah.
it, and then he's like hate punching it, and dude, like he's a powerful guy, but but she clearly accesses the Force and
Mhm.
she accesses the only thing she understands, which is the dark side.
Yeah.
And there's a shot, and I remember clipping this back in 2016, 2017. I clipped it and I said, here's Ray standing over a vanquished Kylo Ren with the same look on her face that Luke has when he's standing over Vader having beaten him in Return of the Jedi. Same shot,
Mm.
same
Mm.
spittle on the lips. They're both like they're evil. They
Yeah.
are now possessed by the dark side, and they're in that moment. And I'm like, look, I'm watching it and I care about this. Like,
Mm.
I think she's a good character. And I
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
don't have any problems.
it's a terrible moment. And then for both of them, and then the force has to intervene. And
Also, after 6 previous Star Wars movies, I had no issue at that point with a female being a
mm,
lead,
mm-mm,
because uh, just understanding Star Wars in general, somebody who grew up with it. I mean, I'm the guy who used to get Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, and nobody would play with me because I could run off 29 straight questions. Like,
me too.
like
Me
I
too.
love Star Wars, and so when people made that the issue, and this is where it's the same thing we're seeing now. It's like sometimes we overcorrect or look for things that to complain about that don't need to be complained about. Did that happen in another? Would it be stupid if James Bond was female? 100%. Does
Right.
it? Is it okay for there to be a female Jedi? Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
and more importantly, so two things, like the force gets concentrated in the only practitioners that are available. And so in the
mhm,
world that we're living in the Force Awakens,
mm,
it's called the Force Awakens.
mhm,
um by the way, there's only two of them, and so it's all concentrated in them. It's the same argument as to why Palpatine is so much more powerful than all the other Jedi.
mm,
The whole point of thousands of Jedi versus two Sith. This is the force seeks balance. If you're
yeah.
not sure that you of how this works, go watch the invective laden short that everybody's seen of Freddie Prinze Jr., Kanan Jarrus from Rebels, explaining it all, with a whole bunch of fucks. You stupid fucks, do you not understand that the force always seeks fucking balance? And god damn it, what's wrong
Yes.
with you?
Yeah.
And I was taught this by George Lucas.
Literally
Right?
the whole points of the the prequels.
Right. The force seeks balance. That means that, I remember we came out of the Phantom Menace and we went, guys, that whole thousand Jedi, two Sith, we're going to bring balance to the force. He kind of does. Like Vader's dead, Palpatine's dead, and we're left with one PTSD laden Luke, half
Yeah.
trained. Oops,
Yeah.
like the forces got balance, is back in
Mhm,
balance again. So,
mhm,
like one of the things, you know, and I really do, and I've been reading the chat as we're going through, guys. So I see a lot of you're right. Like Rogue One is a brilliant Gen X style Star Wars movie, no argument. Andor is an amazing friggin'
mhm.
series if you've not
Andor
watched
was
it.
great. Andor was
Unbelievable.
mhm,
Really, really good.
and nobody
Um,
watched it.
90%, I would argue that about 90%, or maybe 85%, if I were to do the full balance of what Disney has produced for Star Wars, is more than acceptable, is above
Yeah,
average in
above
quality.
average. Yep, I
Easily.
agree.
The Obi-Wan series is pretty much dog shit. The Acolyte is a failed experiment.
Yeah.
Um,
Acolyte was where
and
we got the
Book of Boba
worst.
Fett is Book of Boba Fett's kind of okay. It should
They
have
just
it was
gave
handled.
up and made it The Mandalorian again.
I know.
That one.
But The Mandalorian is very good. Even season 3 is
I
fine.
like season 3. I just got finished it again. I was like,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
good.
remember why everybody hated this.
Oh,
Like, there's a
because
couple goofy
Lizzo.
parts.
Again, because of things
Yeah.
like Lizzo. This
Yeah.
is this is the woke right thing. This is exactly the same thing
Yes.
as the Odyssey.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, then like Rebels is amazing.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, Rebels is great.
and if you've not watched Rebels, then Ahsoka will make no sense to you whatsoever because it's
Mm,
season 5 of Rebels.
mm.
But if you've watched Rebels, then you should watch Ahsoka because it's now
Yeah.
going to pay that whole storyline forward. Um, all of the Clone Wars, the Bad Batch, Maul Shadow Lord's fucking unbelievable. I
I
think
haven't
I'd
seen
be
that one.
honest. Oh yeah, no, you should
Hmm,
watch Maul Shadow Lord's really good because
okay.
one of the things that I've come to really appreciate is that while I don't mind live action Star Wars at this point, I think Star Wars does work best right now to this
Mhm.
audience today as animation. I
Yeah.
think we're an anime saturated um, thing. I just think that this is where we can tell the kinds of stories in Star Wars
Yeah,
that we want to tell, and we can do it in animation.
I
And
agree with you.
Lucasfilm Animation, from the beginning of when they first started creating the Clone Wars, was to make movies in animation, to
Yeah.
treat animation like movies and not treat them like animation in the past. And the Lucas and Filoni together, that was very important to them. And watching the evolution of the quality of the storytelling
Mhm.
in the animation department has been just one of the it's been a beautiful thing to see. Not
Yeah.
all of the stuff is good. I mean, but like Resistance wasn't particularly good. And but you got to give them credit for, like, the animation stuff is just it's off the charts. Like the Bad Batch is phenomenal.
Mhm.
It's a phenomenal Star Wars story about child abuse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like the Bad Batch. That was
Yep.
good. Yeah.
Clone Wars is
I think part of it too is with these like movies with that require lots of special effects and new worlds and stuff. With animation, you can just go there,
Mhm.
and all the other creation aspects kind of can. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't have the right creators working with you, it can really bog it down, and that can become such a big focus. It can hurt the story, and or they'll screw it all up, and that takes you out of it. So yeah, animation makes a lot of sense for Star Wars. I just read this thing the other day where a guy was talking to some kind of, he was either a producer or somebody who worked on the sets of Rome in
Mm.
on HBO,
Yes, the
and
John Milius series, yeah.
yeah, so fantastic. And the guy was like, "Why don't they make this like this anymore?" And he said they don't even know how anymore. Like
No.
that's been so lost, just making
Well
real films on sets.
and the other thing that we have the problem of is, which is that they trained an entire generation of screenwriters not to tell stories because they were
Yeah,
Marxists.
that's another, to preach at you instead.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, seriously, like, they don't know how
Yeah.
to write screenplays,
Hmm.
and they don't know how to tell stories because they don't have any. They have no. Again, we're talking about destroying the cathedral. We're talking about burning down the library,
Yeah.
burning down history. This is all downstream of that creeping Marxism
Hmm.
that's endemic all through academia,
Yep.
and then into. So we're at that nadir,
Hmm.
right? 1968, the breakdown of
Yeah.
the studios, the breakdown of the studio system and whatnot. Are they going to be able to get it back? I don't know,
Yeah, I
right?
don't know.
But
Or if
I
it
love.
gets many independent places rising up. Film's not going away, but it might not be what we remembered or anything close to like that for a long time,
It,
you
it
know?
could take it could take another 5 or 7 years for it to come back. I
Mhm.
mean, I literally we were again. You got to remember that, like, Dexter White and I care a lot about this. This is very
Mhm.
important to us. We were, like I said earlier, we both at one point wanted to were had the possibility of being able to break into to writing films and
Mhm.
making films, um and this stuff matters to us because we understand the importance of story
Yeah.
in the context of civilization and how you
Mhm.
move civilization from generation to generation to
Yeah.
generation. And so it's important now, and I've been trying to inculcate this idea into my daughter as well, who's a creative in her own
Mhm.
way. She's nowhere yet, but
Yeah.
like she has that spirit, she has that same thing that I had when I was her age.
Mhm.
And I've chosen now to go this weird path where I talk about shit that I never thought I would ever write about in my entire life, which is where I am. But so I just sublimated all those creative urges into what I do today. But you can see how much I've thought about this stuff as I've gone on over the years, and so it's really important. And I've been trying to instill that into her, like, really think about what stories you want to tell, or
Mhm.
what art you want to create, or whatever, and how you do it. And she's got an eye for it. And so I don't know whether she's going to get anywhere with it or
Mhm.
not. She may just have a lead a very unremarkable life. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But at the very least, what I've been trying to do is to show her these things, and then show her
Mhm.
what great movie making is, and show her what great music
Yes.
is, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Hopefully at some point she'll take that, and maybe she will do something with it,
Yeah.
long after I'm dead. I don't know. I hope
Yeah.
so.
I
Now,
do the same with
to
my
the
kids. Yeah.
yeah, to the kids and the guys in the chat, I like reading a lot of this stuff. Like, dude, Grand Admiral Thrawn was brilliant,
He was.
and they
That's a
brought
good character.
him into Rebels, and they used him perfectly
Mhm.
as an antipode for Kanan and Ezra. Ezra is
Yeah.
one of the great characters in Star Wars. Ezra Bridger is
Mhm.
one of the great characters in Star Wars. Um, and I'm fascinated to see where they go in Ahsoka season 2 to pay off, the freaking Mortis god shit from season 3 of the Clone Wars. Like that stuff matters to me. I think it's all
Yeah.
cool and valid, and
Yeah.
it's all canon, and it's all the
Mhm.
stuff that George wanted to talk about if he had
Yeah.
ever made his 7, 8, and 9. So Filoni is paying that off. He's paying off
Mhm.
George's legacy as best he can. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we took a detour into weirdness because, well, guess what? The society took a detour into weirdness. Right? We
Yes.
got weird to the point where, we're
Mhm.
cutting our boys' dicks off and we're doing all sorts of stupid
Well,
shit,
Disney
right?
went through that whole Bob Chapek era, which was
Right.
just a disaster. And
Yep.
I know for all the hate at Disney, which is mostly well deserved, they when the right people are in charge, it still can create fantastic stuff as a company. And I still like my kids and I. We still watch old Disney movies. Man, it's just like this is apex cinema.
Yeah.
It's
Some
hero's
of it is.
journey type stuff. And there's still some hope today. Now that I know this one wasn't Disney, but there's been a couple movies in recent years that give me some hope that maybe
Mhm.
things could turn around in this era. And it's like, did you see Project Hail Mary?
I haven't watched it yet, but it
Oh,
just came out on Prime, and I was
yeah.
waiting to try and find a night where I can actually get my wife to sit down with me and watch a movie
It's a
together. Uh,
wonderful film. It's
I've
it's
heard
one
I
of the
heard it
movies
was
that
good.
I walked out of just saying like, we don't get this much anymore.
Right.
It's kind of how I
I
felt with Top Gun Maverick too.
Top Gun Maverick, and I never. Commit movie sin now and say I've never seen Top Gun, but I have seen Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I appreciated it. I love all the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh
I
yeah, they're
think
great.
they're great. Even
Mhm.
except for number 2. I don't think the John Woo movie is very good, but
Yeah, we don't
um,
talk about two. It's like
yeah, we
Rocky
just don't.
5. We just don't acknowledge it exists.
Well, it was so bad that I didn't watch another Mission Impossible until like
Oh,
until 5 was coming out,
oh wow.
and then we finally sat down and we watched Rogue Nation, and then we're like, who is this Rebecca Ferguson chick, and why is she so
Yeah,
fucking awesome,
so
right?
awesome.
And
Mhm.
then I went back and watched some of the other ones, and then I really like 3. I think 3 is a great movie.
Yeah,
I
3's
think
fun.
you
4
know,
through 4 through 8 are like next level. Like
yeah, they really are.
they so good.
I don't remember if I don't think McQuarrie's the screenwriter on 4, but that's a Brad Bird movie, so, it's
Yeah, he came on 5.
yeah, he
Yeah.
came out as the screenwriter for and the director.
I
He
think
was the
he
director of
directs and wrote all 5
5
through
through
8
8,
with Tom
but I
Cruise.
think he might have been the screenwriter on 4,
He might have
honestly.
been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he
There's a
might have
different
been.
feel to those, and then it
Mhm.
was like the Tom Cruise McQuarrie marriage kinda thing
Mhm.
where they, like, started just doing movies together, and,
Yep.
another movie that was great fun, and this is, he's the same guy who made Maverick, was F1 with Brad Pitt. That's just a fun movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
I haven't seen it. I haven't
really
seen it.
exciting, just fun fi it's like movies we used to watch, that were standalones.
Um,
Action, adventure,
Good
fun
stuff.
characters.
I've been so angry with this fallout of the Snyderverse that I only watched Black Adam once. I enjoyed it when I saw it in the
Mhm.
theaters because we thought Henry Cavill was coming back and the
Yeah,
Snyderverse was
yeah.
going to be rebooted. And I'm like, cool. And The Rock as Black Adam is a perfect cast. And it was a good
Mhm.
movie. And I got to see Dr. Fate on the big screen. I was like, ah! The DC
Yeah,
geek in me was just like, when Pierce Brosnan became Dr. Fate, I was just like,
it's
I'm
great.
like, oh God. I'm like, I like, it was awful. I am such a DC fanboy. It's not funny. Um, so, yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. I've watched like all the CW shows, and I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
watched Arrow. I watched Arrow all the way to the end,
Yeah.
even though it just became really awful at one point. Um, and I watched Legends of Tomorrow, and I watched all that stuff because I mean, they brought in characters that I adore from
Mhm.
the corners of the DC universe, and
Yeah.
like Captain Cold, like all the Flash stuff. The
Mhm.
first 2, 3 seasons of The Flash were just so great because it was just about normal people. It was
Yeah.
just a lovely family show about it was like a 1970s, it was like Little House on the Prairie with superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
just like it was like these people are so nice and they actually talk to each other. Like my wife and I, two kids with massive abandonment issues, are like, God, wouldn't it be nice to have a family like that? I'm
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
know. So I loved the first couple of seasons of The Flash. I even watched like the first 3 seasons of Supergirl, even though it was like feminist claptrap, because Melissa Benoist is she's just adorable
Yes,
as
yeah,
Supergirl. She's
100%, yeah.
just adorable.
Mhm.
And I mean, hell, they even used the Martian Manhunter pretty well. Um, so I can't really complain about that either. And he's one of my favorite characters in the DC universe. Always has been.
He's always
I
interesting, I'll say that.
I love the Martian Manhunter. So I do. I just, he's there. I'm like, dude,
I mean
I'm
I
in.
mean, what you're
I'm
talking
in.
about though too is like those shows all started coming out when we were
Yeah,
starved
100
to
was
see
okay.
anything we loved on
So
screen,
brutal.
we just
So
didn't have anything. What was that?
yeah, somebody said the 100 was okay. Except by the beginning of season 3 it was the 44. Like, you know what I mean? Like they kept killing the kids off by droves. I'm like, oh my god, this is so relentlessly dark. I can't watch it anymore. Though the chicks, I have to say, the chicks were really hot. So what are you gonna do? It's
There
the
you go.
CW. So
Oh, yeah.
but and like I'm a sucker for a hot chick. So I, I'm a man. I don't give a shit. I've been married 34 years at this point. My wife knows. But the I agree. Like we're getting back to I think we may be at that nadir. I did
With
not
the
like the
inflection,
Preacher T
yeah.
I did not like the Preacher TV series at all. I actually
Mm.
I hate I've come to hate fucking Seth Rogen with the passion of
Oh,
multiple
dude,
suns.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't,
Anything he's involved in.
especially if you've read the comic books. Like,
Mm.
dude, this coffee can't taste like you came in it. Well, I heard you were going to show up, and I couldn't contain myself. Like Garth Ennis dialogue is just nothing tops Garth Ennis's dialogue. The skinny chick from Waco with an echo between her legs. Like you cannot get better dialogue than what was in the Preacher. But like if you've not read that comic book, you should. It's equal parts profane and beautiful and stunning
I
and
remember
all of that
that
stuff.
late '90s, early 2000s when it was
Great
going
stuff.
big, man. That
The
was huge.
Yeah, it was huge. What was I going to say is, so you know what I finally watched after waiting 2 years to sit down and watch it?
What's that?
Civil War.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Fuck Alex
Yeah,
Garland.
dude,
Fuck
he showed us
him.
exactly what they wanna do. Yep.
They showed us what a limey, because Alex
Mhm.
Garland's a fucking limey. I'm watching this movie and I'm like, okay, this is clearly a bi-coastal shit lib's
Mhm.
version of what America would look like if it broke down. Everybody's
Yeah,
got guns, they hang each other and all this
yeah.
stuff. And then I got to the end and I'm like, and I remember seeing Ex Machina and really liking it. I even
Yeah,
liked Annihilation, the
I
second movie
like
with
Ex
Natalie Portman.
Machina. Yeah.
And I don't like Natalie Portman, but I thought she was
Mhm.
good in that movie. Um,
She's been good in 2 movies, that one and Garden State, and that's it.
I had not seen Garden State.
Oh, it's
The only
fantastic.
time she
Oh,
was ever hot was when she was in that movie with was it Friends with Benefits with Ashton Kutcher? That was the only time she was ever hot.
did you ever see, she's hot in another one, Closer with Clive Owen?
No, I have not seen that one.
Yeah, don't see it. It's terrible,
Okay.
but
I
she's
love Clive Owen. I adore him.
this was when
He
he
was
was
one.
at his apex.
Yeah, no, Clive Owen is a guy that I've always thought he would have in his prime would have made a perfect question, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he would have made a perfect question.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the Green Hornet was awful. Holy shit, dude, like so bad. But Natalie Portman is someone, she's like Tom Cruise. I just don't I see them as like these asexual beings. They're
Mhm.
physically
Very strange.
attractive, but
Yeah.
they have zero sex appeal.
Mhm.
Um, and
Yeah. Yeah,
but
Natalie
so
Portman's an interesting one.
yeah, so when she's not that, right? Um, so like Annihilation is a good vehicle for her, I think.
Mhm.
Um, but um, but I watched those two from okay, so I watched those two movies from Alex Garland. I'm like, okay. But they're very nihilistic, both of
Oh,
them
yeah.
actually.
Did you
They're
see
very and
Devs? The show
no,
he
I
did?
have no. And then Civil War is
Yeah.
like Civil War is offensive.
Yes. As an
It's a
American, especially.
it's offensive.
Mhm.
And it's sad because Kirsten Dunst is brilliant in it.
Mm.
She's absolutely brilliant. I've always loved her, by the way, and
Yeah,
I
she's
think
great.
I think she's a phenomenal actress, and
Mhm.
she's been a girl that's rode hard and put away wet by Hollywood multiple times,
Oh, yeah.
and every bit of that showed on the screen when she was making Civil War.
Mhm.
Um, and like I don't take nothing away from her performance in the movie; she's really good. But Civil War is just an offensive. It's not just anti-American; it's anti-human
Mhm. Yeah.
at
Yeah,
its
and
core.
they've done that in, different ways in a lot of film over the last decade. I mean, it's always happened because there's always been plenty of people in Hollywood who hate all of us making movies,
Mhm.
and one thing I tell my kids, like, when they as they're getting older and I'm kinda steering them towards like what movies like I just stay away from. But I always tell them like I just don't watch anything that has nothing redeeming in it. You know, it
Mhm.
has to have something redeeming to be watchable. And I'll tell them like they'll ask me a certain movies. I'll just be like, yeah, that I saw it, it has nothing redeemable in it. I'll never watch it again.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's kind of how I felt about Civil War.
yeah, no,
Um,
I got done with it and I was very angry. And I'm
mm,
like watching this going, I always thought I thought since like he'd only make like 3 movies, I thought he was like
mhm,
young,
yeah.
that he was like 28 and kind of angsty, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, he's like 56. He's 2 years younger than I am.
Yeah, he's up there.
He's 50, it's not just that this the plot of Civil War. That you think about what Civil War was saying. It was saying that Trump is going to do so many things that are so terrible that even
Mhm.
California and Texas would have to get together
Get
and get rid
together.
of him and
Yep.
get rid of him.
Mhm.
That was the setup. And then beyond that, then the story is about how, and this is the only thing I agree with in all of Civil War is that journalism, the quote unquote the journalist loses their humanity. That the
Mhm.
girl that you think it's Kirsten Dunst's story, or whatever her character's name is, and that she's going to. I thought I had the movie laid out that at the end she was going to finally choose a side and shoot the president in the head. That's the
Mm,
way I thought the movie was going to end, right? Because it's even one, and that would have been fine, I honestly, because that would have made sense. I mean, from a
mhm.
character perspective, that would have made sense that
Yeah,
this woman who's been in every war zone and never taken a side and just
yeah.
documented it all,
Completely
and then in
jaded.
the end, jaded, and then okay, so your arc is that you're going to be placed in a position where you're going to have to finally choose a side, and
Yeah.
then you can have like a Full Metal Jacket like moment where you have to come face to face with the evil that's in front of you. Fine,
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's even worse than that. She sacrifices herself for the little girl
Mhm.
who who then takes the pictures of her dying and then leaves her corpse there, shows no care
Yes.
whatsoever, and
Yeah.
goes to film the final shot of them like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
How much do you hate humanity? I'm like, that's British nihilism, in 147 minutes or
Yeah.
107
Yeah.
minutes. It's awful.
Yeah.
And on top of all of the things that they think they see in us, and that we're
Mhm.
because the first minute, that we would have the temerity to have a Trump like figure, um, you know, betray America to the point where Texas and California would get together and have
Mhm.
to create a new America. I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck you. Dude, tell me you work for fucking MI6 without
Yeah.
telling me you work for MI6. Like,
Yeah.
fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, it
Well,
was awful.
they did a similar thing. It wasn't as bad because it didn't get as progressed, but, in, Wonder Woman 84 with the Pedro Pascal character was Trump,
Yeah.
very clear,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
know, and but the British aspect is really interesting. I hadn't thought about that as the Civil War written by a Brit.
You see, I
Um,
didn't know that about Alex Garland. I figured he
yeah, that
was
makes
I
so
thought
much
just
more
figured he
sense.
was I just figured he was a shit lib from California or New York or
Mhm.
wherever. And
Yeah,
then and then when the movie was over, I'm like, hold on, let
yeah,
me check. And I went and checked his IMDb, and I'm like, oh, you're a
yeah.
fucking limey. I'm like, fuck you.
Well, and this goes to tell you too, like they one of the reasons that Hollywood movies are so fascinating too is because you're learning what they think, and
Yeah.
also sometimes they're telling you what's ahead.
Hmm.
And that's really interesting. You know, we mentioned Fight Club earlier. That was a perfect like Fight Club is
Great
all
movie.
about how crony capitalism and this the Marxist Keynesian system we live in
Hmm.
is destroying masculinity
Yep.
and how it rots your soul. And then
Hmm.
what the backlash could be from that. Because what did they do at the end? They destroy a bunch of credit card companies. I mean, come
No,
on,
yeah, no,
pretty
it
obvious.
is. It is. It's very obvious. And no, Fight Club was there's a reason why all the critics hated Fight
Yep.
Club, because it was the most important movie of
Hmm.
1999 next to The Matrix, because it was
Yeah.
two
Both in
movies.
'99. I mean,
Yep.
it's
Yeah,
and
no, 90,
Matrix obviously very important and
and
still
then the
holds
Phantom
up.
Menace and the Phantom Menace is
Phantom Menace.
1999,
Yep.
and the
Oh,
Phantom
yeah.
Menace was also telling you where we were going and who was
Mhm.
actually behind everything. And I
Yeah.
don't even think George thought about it from that perspective, but
Yeah.
I never for a moment thought that George was anything other than. I mean, look, George is a product of the '60s.
Mhm.
He's made no bones about the fact that he's always thought of Star Wars as, the Viet Cong versus America, right?
Mhm.
And that the Rebel Alliance is the Viet Cong, which
Yeah.
is a dumb, which is a dumb thing for him to think, but he
Mhm.
didn't really channel it that way, thankfully. But
Yeah.
but Fight Club is about what happens when men lose their purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it
Yeah.
is. That's
Uh-huh,
all it
and
is.
they look for it in pure pleasure activities and adrenaline,
Yeah.
um, and how it just destroys that and by continuing on that slope, with that to be the only thing that has meaning, it destroys them and everybody around them.
What's the midpoint turn of Fight Club?
The midpoint turn?
Yeah, you know what the midpoint turn is, right? Like from a
Well,
structural perspective, you have
yeah,
act one,
yeah,
act
yeah.
two, act three. The midpoint turn in any film
Mhm.
is the point of no return where you can't go back to the original state, right?
Mm,
Of where we started the movie. Like up until the midpoint turn, you could always like roll the clock back and go, all right, well, I don't really want to go there. All right. What's the midpoint turn in Fight Club?
and Fight Club. It's not when he finds out because that's too late
No,
in
nope,
the
nope,
movie.
nope.
Um, I don't know, Tom. I wanna hear what you got on this.
It's when he beats the shit out of Angel.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
What the fuck
Wanna
is wrong with you?
destroy
I
something
just want to
beautiful.
destroy something beautiful.
Yeah, Jared Leto, who we've all felt that
Yeah.
way about.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Which is by the way the one reason why I have read the synopsis of the differences between the air cut of Suicide Squad
Mm,
and the final cut of Suicide Squad.
mm,
Now I like now there's three versions of Suicide Squad. There's one we saw in the theaters, which was fine.
mhm,
There's the extended cut that you can only get on Blu-ray.
yeah,
Um, you can't get it on you can't get it on HBO. It's about
mhm,
12. It's about 8 or 9 minutes longer. It's actually a better cut of the movie of
mm,
that movie. It's not a particularly good movie.
mm,
And then there's the air cut, which is sitting there, which is a completely different movie,
hmm.
a completely different movie.
Oh, wow.
And I want to see that. And that was almost greenlit, and it never really got. And then again, what happened with the Warner Brothers Discovery merger? Zaslav, when he came in as CEO, was going to re-greenlight everything, and the board came in and told him no,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
why we didn't get the Snyder verse restored, why we got Black Adam, and
Mhm.
why Dwayne Johnson was, persona non grata because he went ahead and made Black Adam and hired Henry Cavill to do the cameo at the end of Black Adam, thinking
Mm.
that we were going to get everything
Yes,
done,
come back,
and
right?
they
Yeah.
right, and they had already betrayed all of that behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And the air cut and David Ayer was being brought in to finish the air cut of Suicide Squad, and they were going to put it out on HBO Max, and along with the Snyder cut of Justice League, which is one of the
Mm.
greatest movies ever made, by the
It's
way.
it's actually very good.
Oh, so fucking good.
I was shocked how much I enjoyed it, and it makes 4 hours just fly by.
It's Dexter White was funny how he got done watching. He's like, "What do I?" Because he gets to the point where he runs out of stuff to watch. He's like, "You have good taste. What should I watch next?" And I'm like, "You should watch all the Snyderverse movies. Start with Man of Steel, then watch them in this order." And he got done with the Snyder cut, and he was like, "This movie has three things in it that I normally hate in movies: slow motion, time travel, and there was something else." And he's like, "This movie had all of them, and it was fucking amazing." I'm like, I know. It's that great moment where we get Bruce Wayne finally say, well, what's driving you? Effectively, what's driving you, Master? Faith, Alfred. Faith.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and it's so good. It's such
It
a great movie.
I
And
was Batman is, my I grew up X-Men got me into comics, so I still have
mhm,
I was a
mhm.
Wolverine guy, but when it comes to DC, I've always loved Batman. Everything
I'm
Batman
a
just
Batman guy.
yeah, I
I've
eat
always
it
been.
up.
I've always
And
been a
so
Batman guy, and I was
yeah,
never a Superman guy until Snyder. So
yes,
I
I
will give and I
agree.
will give and I will give Nolan his due for helping to gestate that
Mhm.
version of
Yeah.
Superman. And Zach did a great job with the script. He wasn't involved with, I mean, not
Yeah.
the script with the execution of the movie, but it
Mhm.
wasn't Snyder's script.
Yeah.
But what he does with it after that, like I actually like almost all of Snyder stuff. Have you seen the
Mhm.
the full cut of Sucker Punch?
No, I haven't. Sucker
Oh,
Punch is one I
dude.
have not revisited.
Oh, dude, you should watch Sucker
I
Punch.
do
Sucker
love
Punch is
300.
Sucker Punch but you got to watch the full cut of Sucker Punch.
Okay.
Again, Watchmen theatrical cut butchered on
Yeah,
purpose. They
yeah.
butchered it. Sucker Punch, they butchered Sucker
Mhm.
Punch. on purpose. They butchered BVS. They did this on purpose. They
Yeah.
did not. They knew what they were trying to do. They knew they were going to destroy all of this. They knew what they had already decided. They were going to give us Marvel and destroy DC, and so they were fighting against this tooth
Mm,
and claw. And I think
interesting.
they've been fighting Snyder the entire time, and because they knew what Zach is,
Yeah.
and I heartily recommend
Okay.
um,
I'll definitely
the
check that out.
just you got to find the full cut of Sucker Punch. You can
Okay.
find it on Blu-ray.
I'll
I
check it
think
out.
it's
I enjoy Snyder because he's so different and he gives you he's got vision and it's
yeah.
always interesting watching his stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of he reminds me of like a more serious version of like Michael Bay. We talk about
Hmm.
directors who don't care. Michael
Right.
Bay just there's always I mean sometimes they're great, sometimes they're terrible, but they're always Michael Bay.
Right.
And he's one of the few. But I loved what you said about Batman too because it was so awesome as a comic fan to get from the Dark Knight trilogy and then even the Ben Affleck Batman, two Batmans in a row that just got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved getting to
I, I
watch that.
I'm dead serious, guys. The ones who are yelling at me about Sucker Punch, you've got to watch the full cut of the movie.
Mm,
And I'm dead serious. Like, watch the 2 hour and 15 minute cut or what. It's not very long. It's not like a Snyder 3 hour cut or anything. It's just an extra like 10 or 11 minutes.
yeah,
But those 10 or 11 minutes, because I've watched both versions, I'm like, oh yeah, this movie makes no
it can
sense.
make a big difference.
But this movie is, I mean, what's the punchline of Sucker Punch? You have all the weapons you need. Now
Mm,
fight.
mm,
That's what this movie is about. And
mhm.
it's so good. And it's so good. And it's not just about it's about a lot of things, but it's about, it's about real female abuse,
Yeah.
right? And not the kind of hokey feminist
Mm.
bullshit that we get, like Captain Marvel and all the other crap.
Oh God.
This is a movie that matters. Again, Wonder Woman is an amazing film, and
The
it's
first
clear
one is
that's
great.
well, and Snyder wrote the script, and
Yeah.
Patty Jenkins was the hired gun, and
Mhm.
then she was given the second movie and then she wrote that this god awful fucking piece of shit.
It's so bad.
It is so bad, and I mean, and I wanted to like it so bad because I just love Gal Gadot
Yeah,
as
I was
Wonder
there
Woman.
immediately. My kids and I, because that was during the COVID era when all the WB movies went straight to streaming. So that was a day
Mhm.
one watch for my family and I. And oh my God, it was
God, it was
terrible.
awful. Yeah,
It was
it
so
was
bad.
just god awful.
Yeah.
And I just rewatched Wonder Woman the other day. Actually, I was thinking about it, and I rewatched that, and of course, I watched The Patriot at like midnight on July
Oh
4th.
yeah. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So good.
And I started watching The Patriot at like 11:30 on Tubi, so it's a 2 hour and
Mhm.
40 minute movie plus all the commercials.
Yeah.
And my wife walks in and she's and right at like 10 minutes into the movie or 5 minutes into the movie, she's like, "You're starting this now? God damn you!" And then she sits down and she's like, I'm never going to forgive you for starting the fucking Patriot without telling me. And then it's 11:30 or 45 at night. We stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning watching the Patriot. And then the next day, she's like all completely hungover from not getting any sleep. And I just walked up to her about, I don't know, it was a Sunday. I guess it was, yeah, it was be Sunday. So I did finish the market report and I'm hanging out.
Mm.
And she's just sitting in her chair, like nursing, you know, watching stupid shit on YouTube and like watching like the Tetris, like watching like competitive Tetris on YouTube and just awful stuff. And I just looked at her and I went, I'm really sorry I ruined your Sunday. Uh,
We turned you into
like,
mush. Yeah, that's
yeah.
late for that. Well,
Uh,
guys, as we're close out, I do want to make sure there was a couple super chats. I want to make sure the super chats get talked to.
mm,
Drew Sample sent another one says, "Do you think Dick was spot on with Martian time slip
yes.
interacting with AI causing psychosis?"
Dick was spot on with all of those especially the 1960s Philip K. Dick from Martian Time Slip, which was the first one of that sequence.
Mm,
And then he wrote 16 books that end with Ubik. And then there's For My Tears the Policeman Said, and then there's a lot less work after that. There's the ballast stuff and the
mhm,
exegesis and Scanner Darkly. But starting with Martian Time Slip and working all the way to Ubik, read those books as a precursor to or as a means. He was commenting on what happens to men who have lost their purpose
mm,
in an overly technocratic world.
mm,
He saw the rise of the technocratic state. He saw the rise of the war economy, of the rise of Marxism, and the rise of fake people in a fake economy with fake money and all of that stuff. The fake money stuff was never really part of his thing, but he understood that men were being marginalized and they were being destroyed, and their only reaction to that was a variety of different. And so all those books are like a different take on how a man reacts to having lost his purpose.
Mm,
And Jack Bolan is about ennui, schizophrenia, depression, right? And in Martian Time Slip. And in Ubik, it's, Joe Chip is the ultimate selfish guy, and Barney Mayerson and Three Supermatter Palmer Eldritch is a narcissist, and
mm,
Rick Deckard has lost in Duran Duran Electric Sheep has lost his empathy for everything, and has lost every so he checks out. He's the guy. He's the classic guy who checks out emotionally from everything and just dissociates himself and is just a hired killer for the police department, right? All of these books do cover this stuff from different perspectives.
mm.
Even in a piece of black comedy like Clans of the Alpine Moon, Chuck Rittersdorf is trying to kill himself because his wife is this fucking horrible harpy, and he's dealing with the fact that he's less successful than her.
Mm.
And then it gets into it's the funniest goddamn book, by the way, ever written. I could give you the plot synopsis of Clans of the Alpine Moon, and you're like, I can't even follow it. It's so fucking it's hilarious, and you should read it. And it's a 3-hour read, and it's one of the greatest. It's one of the greatest science fiction black comedies ever written. But I think all of those books are important to because they were telling us where we were going to wind up
Mm,
today.
mm.
Okay. And so was he spot on about AI? Well, I would actually better argue that a book like We Can Build You, or, there's a couple of others, even,
Mm,
to a lesser extent, like Dr. Blood Money. There's other
yeah.
ones that you could make that argument for.
Mm,
Martian Time Slip was definitely about depression. And it was the first one where he's really exploring
hmm.
that. So I would read it from that perspective. Read
Okay.
Dick thematically about what the male character is dealing with, and then they always make sense from that perspective.
Mm,
Okay,
that's good. I see one more question I want us to answer. It's
sure.
who is the worst Batman?
George Clooney.
I think it's Clooney running away, right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
even
The
tough one.
second worst is the second worst. I hate to say it is Michael Keaton. I never really
Oh,
bought Michael
interesting.
Keaton. I actually didn't mind Val. I thought Val Kilmer was fine. This is a movie
Kilmer was
was dog
great.
shit.
He looked the
Yeah,
part too. He
yeah.
definitely looked like a Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but I
Rest
mean,
in peace.
ultimately, yeah, Val Kilmer was brilliant. He was
Mhm.
a great guy, and he was a great actor, and
Yep.
it's sad. For the most part, they've cast Batman really well. The better
Mhm.
question is, which is the better Batman, Christian Bale or Ben Affleck?
That's tough, man.
It is. I can't answer it.
It's actually
Actually, I love
really
them
tough
both for
because
completely different reasons.
if we'd gotten more Affleck, then it'd be an easier question to answer,
Really would.
because with
Really would.
we got so little of him, it was almost like playing highlights the whole time.
I
And
know.
Bale, man, is so good. Well, I'll say this: Affleck might be a better Batman, but Bale might have been a better Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I will argue that. But even then, like, think about that. Like, he doesn't do much as Bruce Wayne,
Yeah,
but every moment where he is
they're good.
Bruce Wayne
Mhm.
is off
It's
the
very
charts
good.
good.
It is
There's
very good.
that
Yeah,
scene in the
yeah.
mausoleum,
Oh yeah. Oh, I
right,
love that scene.
where he's
So good.
talking, where he
Yes.
looks at the
Mhm.
gravestone of his dad, and he goes,
Yeah.
"I'm older now than my father ever
Yes, it's
was." And
so
I
good.
went, and I
Yeah.
went, "Yep, that's my goal. My goal is to outlive my dad. I got to make it to 65. That's it."
Uh-huh. The whole Batfleck thing was so funny because that it was a very much, like a Heath Ledger moment where ahead of time, everybody was like, "Oh, this is gonna be terrible." And then it just blew our minds. We're like,
Yeah, no,
"Oh
I thought
my god."
knowing that they were going to be doing an older Batman, they were going to be channeling Frank Miller, and
Mhm.
and and if they were to reboot the Snyderverse, which they still could, um, they would just move forward in time a bit, and Affleck would definitely be much more of the Frank Miller
Mm,
archetype
yeah.
in Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I would
and
love
by
to
the
see
way, if
that
you've
made.
not watched the DC animated movie of The Dark Knight Returns with Peter Weller, doing the voice of Batman.
No way. They got
Fucking
RoboCop to do
great.
Batman? That's great.
Fucking great.
That's
It's so good.
unbelievable.
It's one of I think it's I don't remember if Bruce Timm is actually involved in that movie or
Okay.
not, but it's really good.
Alright, I'll have to
And
check that out. I've been taking my kids through the original Batman animated series, which is so fantastic.
it is one of the greatest pieces of animated television ever.
Yes,
It
100%.
is
So
so good because they understood their villains
yes.
so well.
Mhm.
Um, and Best Alfred is a hard one. I would say I really like Michael Caine.
I really like Michael Caine. He's so
I
good.
because it's a great antipode to the Christian Bale
Mhm.
story, and
And he's so just it's everything you want from Michael Caine. He's got
mhm.
the fatherliness, but the humor, and he's just, it's peak
and
Michael Caine
the pathos and
and the
everything
pathos,
else, and then
100%.
to especially in Batman Begins,
Mhm.
I think he's most effective in Batman Begins
Oh, it's so
as
good.
the because you've got the 3 father figures in that movie.
Mhm. Yeah.
You've got
No,
the
that
dead
yeah, that's
father, the good father, and the bad father, and
yes.
they're all pulling at Bruce.
Mhm.
So,
And that's when you
um
get all circling all the way back, that's where you get the best Nolan, is when
mhm,
because he thinks that stuff through.
mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but when it works really well.
Oh, and by the way, Nolan was telling us that, Davos was going to destroy us the way they were destroying us because
Yeah.
Batman Begins was literally telling you how they
League
were
of
gonna hurt us.
Shadows?
We decided to use economics this time.
Yeah, so good. I think that's a perfect ending point, guys. We came all the way around. We somehow did it. Guys, I want to thank you all for watching. And again, just Tom and I both want to just express like this stuff matters. And even though we were just all over the place, these conversations matter. They bring us together. And this is why we should all root that some way, shape, or form of film rises to the top again is actually something that we can come together as a culture
Yes.
because these shared memories. I know right now my kids shared memories. My daughter watches movies with me all the time, and they just don't have them with their friends, and it's a whole different thing. Whereas this is a language from my generation, your generation, our fathers and us. We had this as a language,
Mhm.
and Gen Z and below just don't have that. They have some stuff, but it's not the same, and we
Their
want that
their
back.
their language is anime,
Yeah.
and as a coda, I'm actually really interested to see what Star Wars does
Mhm.
doing a series based on one of the vision shorts from one of the anime studios. The Ninth
Oh,
Jedi
wow.
is getting a
Oh,
series, and it starts next month, and I'm looking forward to that. And
okay.
if you haven't watched the Vision stuff, it's very interesting. It's very Japanese,
Mm,
but it's not canon, obviously. But
okay,
that stuff is very interesting, and I would recommend watching it to get an understanding that it's like they understand where their younger audience is. Their
yeah.
younger audience likes anime,
The
and
Japanese
so
get it too, kinda when it comes
oh
to hero
yeah,
stuff and all that. Yeah, they
they get
still
s and they love Star Wars.
yeah, they do, they do.
They do, they
They love
love
Americana, and Star Wars is a big
go
part of that.
go wa go watch Visions and tell me that these anime, writers and directors don't love Star Wars,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
okay?
it's true. Well, guys, I'll probably have Tom on again, before
Sure,
too long, and then Tom, maybe, for the movie talk, we maybe after Dune 3, it'd be the appropriate time to
sure.
do
So,
the year in
er,
review and see if we survived it.
I certainly hope so. The trailer for Dune 3 did not fill me um, with any amount of, of of enthusiasm,
No,
unfortunately.
no, but we'll both be there on day 1 and, maybe
I
crying
can
together from afar.
I can watch Rebecca Ferguson, like, read the phone book at this point.
Amen.
Good,
Absolutely. She's
so
great. She's great.
she is good.